Shalom, peace and blessings to all the saints, all the congregation of the House of Wisdom, and all those scattered abroad of all other beliefs and ideologies. Come and join the House of Wisdom as we come here learning about the truth of the Scriptures. I'm here today to bring forth the intro class about the truth of tithes. What are tithes? What they really are according to the Scriptures. We've been lied to and we've been taught something that is not true. Now is the time to dispel those misconceptions and learn what is actually true according to the Scriptures. I'm joined today with my reader on my right, Priest Yachanan, coming from Cleveland, Mississippi, and on my left, Priest Rosh, coming out of Houston, Texas. Now, they have come and gathered with us today in Atlanta as we begin the Winter Feast of Weeks. We are in, currently right now, the first day of the Winter Feast of Weeks. Now, many people say, what is that? I never heard of that. I know it's a Feast of Weeks. I did it 50 days after Passover. But what is the Winter Feast of Weeks? Well, that's not what this class is about. Most High willing, in the main class, Chief Priest will be going through that, showing this feast that's been hidden from us. But for now, we're going to talk about what we do in this feast. And what we do in the Feast of Weeks, it's all about tithing. It's all about giving your tithes so that the priests can do their job. But many people are, especially amongst our Israelite brothers and sisters, are almost scared of tithes. Or they just don't know about tithes. Or they see the damage that the Christian church has done and said, nah, all that's garbage. We don't do any of that. And we don't fulfill the laws of the Most High. It is essential for us to understand exactly what tithes are so that we can implement this process righteously and in godliness. First, Priest Rosh, if you'll grab Malachi chapter 3, we'll start in the 8th verse. Malachi chapter 3, verse 8. Now, once again, as we said, you have Christians talking about tithes or just all types of people. Even amongst our Israelite brothers and sisters, they take the term tithes and use it the same way that the Christians do. They say tithes is when you give the church money. That's tithes. Hey, brother, pay your tithes. You only gave $100, and that was in February. Brother, pay your tithes. That's not tithes. That's not what tithes are. Let's get that. Malachi chapter 3, verse 8.
Will a man rob Abba?
Will a man rob the Most High? Will a man go up into heaven with his Colt 45 and go up to the Most High and be like, hey, run your pockets? No, they won't. That sounds like, of course you can't. Of course man can't do that. But what the Most High say? Read on.
Yet ye have robbed me.
But you have robbed me. Man has robbed the Most High. Where have we robbed him? Read on.
But ye say, wherein have we robbed thee? In tithes and offerings.
In tithes and offerings. Now, what the Christians do is they read this and close the book. That's it. You robbing me when you don't pay the tithes. You robbing God when you don't give me money. I need that $85 million jet. You better pay up or you robbing God. And they use that as an excuse to fleece the pockets of the people, which is not at all what Malachi 3 is talking about. That is not at all what he's talking about. You don't rob the Most High when you don't go to AME Baptist Church and don't give the pastor money so he can get new rims for his Lambo. That's not robbing the Most High. Let's get a little more understanding of these tithes, and let's read the scripture with a little more context. Continue on, priest.
Ye are cursed with a curse, for ye have robbed me, even this whole nation.
All right, so when we rob the Most High of his tithes and his offerings, the Most High in turn curses us. Once again, not something that we often read. When we rob the Most High of his tithes and offerings, he dispatches the curses. He allows Satan to accuse us, and that sin gets on us and brings forth those curses. Deuteronomy 28 comes when we rob the Most High of his tithes and offerings. This is Deuteronomy 28, just repackaged and presented another way. We are cursed with a curse because we have been robbing the Most High of his tithes and offerings from the days of old. Now, all of us talk about, go back to the law, statutes, and commandments to get rid of these curses. Malachi is telling us clearly one of these laws is the tithes and his offerings. So how do we come back to this to remove these curses? Let's read on.
Bring ye all the tithes into the storehouse.
Bring ye all the tithes into the storehouse. Now, how many people bring forth dollar bills into a storehouse? You send it to a bank, but not a storehouse. What's he talking about? We need this context to fully understand what Malachi is trying to bring forth through the Spirit. Read on.
That there may be meat in mine house.
That there may be meat in my house? You bring forth the tithes so there can be meat? How many people are talking about that? When you go into AME Baptist Church or whatever it may be, whatever church you're going to, and they say give the tithes, how many are saying it's so we can have meat in the storehouse? Or are they saying because I need a $65 million jet, I need y'all to give tithes? The tithes were about having meat in the storehouse. It's giving us more context clues on what true tithes are. Let's read on.
And prove me now herewith, saith the Most High of hosts, if I will not open you the windows of heaven.
The Most High is saying, bring the tithes and offerings so there's meat in my storehouse, and prove me. Try me out. Test me. And see if I won't give you a blessing instead of a curse. Try it out and see. See if those blessings come rather than the curse. But we have to understand what the true tithes are. Let's read on.
And pour you out a blessing, that there shall not be room enough to receive it. And I will rebuke the devourer for your sakes.
The Most High said, I will rebuke the devourer. I will send back Satan. I will push him away from what he's trying to devour and destroy from you. What is he trying to destroy? Read on.
And he shall not destroy the fruits of your ground.
He shall not destroy the fruits of your ground. And all the while, Malachi is talking about tithes. All the while, he's talking about tithes and saying, when you bring them, Satan shall no longer destroy the fruit of your ground. He shall be rebuked when you bring in the tithes and offerings. Read on.
Neither shall your vine cast her fruit before the time in the field, saith the Most High of hosts.
Neither shall your fruit, your harvest, go to waste. And all the while, remember, the context here is tithes. Malachi is talking directly about tithes. Let's get the first book of Adam and Eve, chapter 67. We'll start in the third verse, pre-Shakanan. So the Most High said, we are cursed because we robbed him of his tithes. Now, if we bring the tithes, the Most High will then rebuke the devourer, and he will no longer destroy the fruits of our ground. Now, he said, prove me, test me, try and see if this is actually true. And we can actually see in the scriptures that this is 100% valid and 100% true. That this has actually happened before. That Satan came and destroyed the fruits of the ground, and these people came back and gave the tithes anyway, and the Most High rebuked them. Rebuked the devourer, rebuked Satan. Let's get that first book of Adam and Eve, chapter 67, verse 3.
But Satan saw what Adam and Eve had done, and all he called his hosts, and said to them, since Abba has shown to Adam and Eve all about this wheat, wherewith to strengthen their bodies, and look, they have come and made a big pile of it, and faint from the toil, all now asleep. Come, let us set a fire to this heap of corn, and burn it, and let us take the bottle of water that is by them, and empty it out, so they may find nothing to drink, and we kill them with hunger and thirst.
So look at Satan. Satan is doing exactly what it was mentioned in Malachi. He was going to destroy the fruits of their ground. He took them and had a plot to burn them and destroy everything that Adam and Eve had worked hard for. Let's read on.
Verse 4. Then, when they wake up from their sleep and seek to return to the cave, we will come to them in the way and will lead them astray, so they die of hunger and thirst, when they may perhaps deny Abba, and he destroy them. So shall we rid of them. Then Satan and his hosts set the wheat on fire and burned it up. But from the heat,
we'll drop it right there. So we see that Satan was deceiving Adam and Eve. His whole plot was to destroy them and have them forsake the Most High. So he went and destroyed the fruits of the ground. Now, time won't afford us to go through and see exactly what happened and read through the story, but I'll tell you for time's sake. Satan went and destroyed, burnt up the fruit of the ground, as it mentioned in Malachi. And then he led them on a journey saying, hey, I'm an angel of the Most High. I'm going to direct you to more wheat. I'm going to direct you to a better place. And took them on a long journey, also that they would faint from starvation, from thirst, and die and pass out. And that they would reject the Most High and curse him for destroying the corn and not leading them to a better place. And they followed him. But the Most High sent forth a real angel and came and directed them back on the right path they were supposed to be on. And when that happened, he sent them to more wheat, to more grain. They took it. They offered it to the Most High, and the Most High fulfilled Malachi 3. He came back to Satan and said, don't you ever in your life burn their corn ever again. I'm rebuking you, Satan. Literally fulfilled Malachi 3, proving that if we do what the true tithes are, the Most High will indeed fulfill his word. He did to Adam and Eve, our forefathers. Would he not do it for us? He rebuked Satan in this instance when they brought the true offerings, the true tithes. He will do it for us in these latter days as well. So we must know what the true tithes are. Once again, it's not when you go to the pastor and give him $100 and you can't even pay the light bill. That is not true tithes. Let's get some understanding of this. Pretty like now, if you continue on, let's go into the scriptures or into the QADASH scriptures, Numbers chapter 18, and we'll start on the first verse. And Priest Rosh, if you get Exodus chapter 35. All right, Numbers chapter 18, verse 1. Let's look at what true tithes are. We show they're not money. They're not for going and allowing the pastor to get a new Bentley and to get rims on and get washed and for him to have a nice mansion. That's not the purpose of tithes at all. Let's look at true tithes and what their purpose is. Let's go to the scriptures where they are mentioned. Numbers chapter 18 and 1. When Moses is establishing the covenant with the children of Israel and establishing a priesthood through Aaron, through the sons of Levi. Let's look at the details of these tithes. Numbers chapter 18, verse 1.
And the Most High said unto Aaron, thou and thy sons and thy father's house with thee shall bear the iniquity of the sanctuary. And thou and thy sons with thee shall bear the iniquity of your priesthood. And thy brethren also of the tribe of Levi.
All right, so Moses is telling Aaron that you all shall be the ones to bear the iniquity of the sanctuary, of the priesthood, and the people. Meaning, it's their responsibility to make sure no sin is in Israel. It's their responsibility to make sure no sin is entering the sanctuary of the Most High. It's their responsibility to make sure no sin is infecting the priesthood. They had a huge responsibility. They were literally the gatekeepers for sin. They were the gatekeepers against the adversary. This is an important position. This is actually the most important position on the planet Earth. I don't care what you do. I don't care if you're a doctor and you saved 1,000 people. All those 1,000 people that you healed of cancer or whatever, they all got sin in them. They have not been saved in spirit. Only these priests were able to save people in spirit. They had an important position. Let's read on.
The rest of verse 2. The tribe of thy father bring thou with thee, that they may join unto thee and minister unto thee. But thou and thy sons with thee shall minister before the tabernacle of witness. And they shall keep thy charge, and the charge of all the tabernacles. All they shall not come nigh the vessels of the sanctuary and the altar, that they neither they nor ye also die. And they shall be joined unto thee, and keep the charge of the tabernacle unto the congregation. For all the service of this tabernacle, and a stranger shall not come nigh unto you.
All right, so the Most High also said that the priesthood is going to come out of the tribe of Levi. Not just out of the tribe of Levi, more specifically, Aaron's lineage. And Aaron had 4 sons, 2 died. The other 2 were going to be the priests. They were going to be the ones who actually sacrificed, the ones who go into the sanctuary. But all of Levi inherited the priesthood. Now, the other families of Levi were going to be the porters, the holy singers, those who worked inside the tabernacle. All of them had a position to play in the priesthood to some degree. It would just vary based on what family you came from. Now, the porters couldn't go in the sanctuary. They couldn't go and offer incense. Only the priest could do that. There was a variation, but they all had this blessing of the priesthood. They all were gatekeepers of sin to block sin out. All of them had their position to play. Let's read on.
Verse 5. And ye shall keep the charge of the sanctuary and the charge of the altar, that there be no wrath any more upon the children of Israel. And I, behold, I have taken your brethren, the Levites, from among the children of Israel. To you they are given as a gift for the Most High.
All right, so All of Levi was offered to the Most High as a sacrifice, meaning they were dedicated to the Most High. Levi could not do anything else other than be a priest or operate in the priesthood to some degree. They were not to go out and be farmers. They couldn't go and be engineers. They couldn't go and be carpenters. Nothing else. If they did that, the Most High was going to destroy them. There was nothing else that they could do except be priest. Let's read on.
The rest of verse 6. To do the service of the tabernacle of the congregation.
They were offered to the Most High to do this, to give service to the tabernacle. Now, if they can't be farmers, if they can't harvest things, if they don't grow, that means basically they have nothing. They have nothing physically, no physical means to eat, to give. They don't have anything for themselves to eat personally. They don't have any material to offer to the Most High. What do? What's the solution? Let's read on.
Verse 7. Therefore thou and thy sons with thee shall keep your priest's office, everything of the altar, and all within the veil, and ye shall serve. I have given your priest's office unto you as a service of gift, and the stranger that cometh nigh shall be put to death. And the Most High spake unto Aaron.
So once again, the Most High is confirming, Levi, you have nothing else but this, the service of the tabernacle. This is what you're giving. I don't want to see you talking about, oh, I can do the good long jump. I can jump 80 meters. Not Levi. No, what you doing? You're going off course. Most High saying, I don't want to see you talking about, oh, I just invented a nice tractor. I can go and we harvest a bunch of wheat. And no, Levi, you're messing up. I need you to be priests, porters, holy singers, and that's it. Close the book. I don't need you doing anything else. Just this. Let's read on.
Behold, I also have given thee the charge of my heave offerings and all the hollow things of the children of Israel. Unto thee have I given them by the reason of the anointing, and to thy sons by an ordinance forever.
So this is the solution. This is the solution to Levi not inheriting any physical land where they can harvest anything, where they can produce for themselves. This is the solution. What they produce, their product that they make, is the oblations, is the sacrifices, is the worship of the Most High. Nobody can worship except through these priests. And to compensate them, the children of Israel hallow things, or they make things holy. They dedicate it to the service of the tabernacle. And they brought in many, many goods so that they, the priests, could facilitate nothing but the worship of the Most High. Let's read on.
Verse 9. This shall be thine of the most holy things reserved for the fire, every oblation of theirs, every meat offering of theirs, and every sin offering of theirs, and every trespass offering of theirs, which they shall render unto me, shall be most holy for thee and for thy sons.
All right, this is what Levi was supposed to do. They were supposed to offer the meat offering. They were supposed to offer the sin offering, a trespass offering. And to do this, the children of Israel, all the other tribes, had to come and bring forth their goods. They had to bring forth everything you needed for a sin offering. If a man wanted a sin offering, he had to supply the lamb. He had to supply the meat offering. He had to supply the flour, the oil, the salt. He had to supply everything. And the priest took it and facilitated that service. They facilitated the worship. It actually went to the extent that the person bringing that sin offering had to kill it if it was for himself. He had to kill it, slay it, cut it up, dress it, and the priest took it and burned it on the altar. They had to facilitate everything, or the congregation had to bring everything so the Levites could facilitate it. All that was theirs. All that became the priest. If a man had 50 goats and he needed to give a sin offering and he took the one, he would take it, bring it. The priest would take that, slay it, and that became the priest. All that the priest ate, the priest consumed of. That became what the priest received. And as we read on, we'll see this is talking about the tithes. Part of this is the tithes. And if anybody is talking about tithes, but they're not pairing it to a sin offering, a trespass offering, a meat offering, you're not really doing tithes. You don't truly understand what tithes are. Let's read on.
Verse 10. In the most holy place shalt thou eat it. Every male shall eat it. It shall be holy unto thee. And this is thine, the heave offering of their gift, with all the wave offerings of the children of Israel. I have given them unto thee, and to thy sons, and to thy daughters with thee, by a statute forever. Everyone that is clean in thy house shall eat of it, and the best of the oil, and all the best of the wine.
All right, so now he's talking about a heave offering, and he starts talking about what the children of Israel will bring to the priest so they can facilitate this worship. He says, the children of Israel shall bring the best of the oil, the best of the wine. Read that verse again, Priest Yakinan.
Verse 12. All the best of the oil, and all the best of the wine.
So they brought forth oil when they had their olives from the olive trees. They took it, and then it got pressed, and they extracted the oil. And they took the best, the top notch, and said, this portion goes to the priest. They had the wine. They had their wine presses. They took the grapes. They harvested them. They pressed them, made wine, made the blood of grapes. And they said the best of this goes to the priest so they could offer it to the Most High. Read on.
And of the wheat.
And of the wheat. Or whatever grain you had. When you harvested it, when you harvested your wheat, you milled it into flour. And then you said the best of this goes to the priest. Read on.
The first fruits of them which they shall offer unto the Most High. Them have I given thee.
So the priests were to receive the first fruits. And the congregation brought that. All the other tribes in Moses' covenant brought forth their tithes. They harvested. They had their plot of land that was their inheritance. They took it. The Most High caused it to produce. And they took the first fruits of it, the best of the harvest, and they brought that to Levi in the tabernacle. And they didn't bring it just so Levi could eat. That wasn't the purpose of it. They brought it so Levi could sacrifice it to the Most High. And as a consequence of them sacrificing, the Most High filled their bellies as well. The Levites ate of it. The Levites had that as their portion as well. And we'll see, he clearly states that these are tithes. This is the first fruits that the children of Israel brought to the priest. And all of it was about allowing the priest to give sacrifices to the Most High. It wasn't so that Aaron could have some nice shoes and a nice suit. That was not the point of the tithes. The point of the tithes was that so Levi could give that sin offering for the entire nation on that Day of Atonement. It was so that Levi could give the command of high holy days and worship the Most High so that curses wouldn't come upon the children of Israel. That was the whole point of the tithes, not to fill the pockets of Pastor, Bishop Eddie Long, or whoever it may be. Let's read on.
Verse 13. And whatsoever is first ripe in the land, which they shall bring unto the Most High, shall be thine. Everyone that is clean in thy house shall eat of it.
So they brought everything that was ripe, everything that grew. Once again, it's not saying all the money you make by blacksmithing, you got to bring that. No, that's not what he was saying. He said everything that got ripened, everything that grew. And it doesn't matter what you grow. I don't care if you grow herbs. I don't care if you have orchards. I don't care if you grow grain. I don't care. It doesn't matter. Everything that you grew, everything that you produced, you had to give as a tithe. And what else did you bring as a tithe? Read on.
Everything devoted in Israel shall be thine. Everything that opened the matrix in all flesh.
So even the things that are born that come out of a woman shall be given. Whether that's of an animal or even us, even people, had to be dedicated to the Most High. Now, obviously, you do different things depending on what it is, but all of these things had to be tithe. Whether you were a cattle rancher, the firstborn of that had to be dedicated. Whether you just had a firstborn son, that had to be dedicated. And then man would actually redeem his son. It wouldn't get sacrificed. But all the clean animals, they got sacrificed to the Most High. You had to give the first, the best, the tithe of all of these things. Whether it was agricultural, whether it was from ranching, herding, raising cattle, whatever it may be, children of Israel had to give tithes of it all. Let's read on.
The rest of verse 15. Which they bring unto the Most High, whether it be of men or beasts, shall be thine. Nevertheless, the firstborn of man shalt thou surely redeem, and the firstling of unclean beasts shalt thou redeem.
All right, so this is what they had to do. The firstborn of all clean beasts, you could not redeem. You absolutely could not. You had to give that as a tithe. The priest took it, and there was no, can I get that lamb back? No, brother, we got to sacrifice this. This is going to be used for nothing but the sacrifices that the Levites offer. And if it was your son, now you redeem him. If it was your firstborn son, you must redeem him. There was no other option. You had to redeem that firstborn son. You paid almost something like a ransom. You paid, and you received back your son, and you raised him as your son. Also, but of an unclean animal, you had to tithe it. And we have this misconception in Israel that pigs are just wicked and pigs are abominable and they just the scum of the earth. That's not true. The Most High created them for a reason. They have their purpose. You may have a dunghill and you need to clear that thing out. So yeah, I herd my pig so we can go and clean out this dunghill. The pigs got to have a value. The pigs have a purpose. And you would tithe some of those pigs. You would actually tithe an unclean animal to the Most High. This shows you they're not an abomination. They're just an abomination to sacrifice. They're an abomination for you to eat. But they have their use. If you have an unclean animal, that is not a loophole in the laws of the Most High. You can't say, if I raise cows, I got to give a tenth to the Most High. If I raise goats, I got to give a tenth. I'm going to raise pigs. I don't have to give nothing to the Most High. Absolutely not. With those unclean animals, you still tithe them. The difference was you had to redeem it. If not, the priest couldn't use it. They would essentially get rid of it. But you still had to give a tenth of what you raised, whether it was clean, unclean, whether it was even your own children. You had to give a tithe of that to the Most High. Let's read on.
Verse 16. And those that are to be redeemed from a month old shall thou redeem, according to thy estimation, for the money of 5 shekels, after the shekels of the sanctuary, which is 20 gerahs. But the firstling of a cow, or the firstling of a sheep, or the firstling of a goat, thou shalt not redeem. They are holy. Thou shalt sprinkle their blood upon the altar, and thou shalt burn their fat for an offering made by fire, for a sweet savor unto the Most High.
All right, so as we said, you cannot redeem a clean animal. They must be used for the sacrifices when you tithe them. That was the whole purpose of these tithes. You kill it, sprinkle the blood for a sweet-smelling savor to the Most High. We're seeing that this is the purpose of the tithes. Once again, you don't give tithes so that Priest Yarden can have the nice Jordans. That's not the point of tithes. Tithes are so Priest Yarden can go and give the sin offerings for all the congregation. So that Priest Rosh or Priest Yachanan can go and offer those sin offerings on the oblation line so that everybody becomes clean and Satan has no accusations against the congregation. It's so that we can come together on the winter feast of weeks and give the Most High his commanded sacrifice. That's the whole purpose of the tithes. That is the whole purpose. And if anybody's missing that, if anybody's saying tithes are purely just money or anything of that nature, you are not truly doing tithes. And if you give somebody money, if you're giving your camp leader or your church pastor or whoever money and claiming it's a tithe, you're wrong. And it's really not a tithe. Just say you gave him money. Just say you gave him a gift. That's all it is. It is not a tithe to the Most High because they did not use it for the sacrifice of the Most High. Let's read on.
Verse 18. And the flesh of them shall be thine, as the waved breast and as the right shoulder are thine. All the heave offerings of the holy things which the children of Israel offer unto the Most High have I given thee, and thy sons and thy daughters with thee by a statute forever. It is a covenant of salt forever before the Most High unto thee and to thy seed with thee.
So this actually became Aaron's inheritance or Levi's inheritance. His inheritance was all the tithes, all the goods that the children of Israel brought to the priesthood. They didn't have their own land to go and ranch or raise cattle or to go and farm and till and produce crops. That wasn't their job. Their job was to be the priest, and their inheritance was all the goods that the children of Israel brought to them as tithes. Let's read on.
Verse 20. And the Most High spake unto Aaron, Thou shalt have no inheritance in their land, neither shalt thou have any part among them. I am thy part and thy inheritance among the children of Israel.
So the Most High said, I myself am your part. I am your inheritance. And in that you receive the tithes of the children of Israel. This is Levi's position. And anybody in that position saying they're a priest must do what the priests do and give these sacrifices. Your inheritance is the worship, the service of the Most High. And you can do nothing else. You cannot be a priest and say, oh yeah, I'm about to go and start this business and start doing this and that, and I'm about to start flipping this and making millions, and your whole mindset is on your business. Oh yeah, I do the priest kind of part-time. That's just a part-time little club thing. But my focus, though, is this business. You're not a priest. You're not doing what the Most High created you to do. Your position was to do nothing but give these oblations, to inherit the Most High and receive the worship of the Most High and facilitate it. Other than that, you're not doing the business of a priest. Let's read on.
Verse 21. And behold, I have given the children of Levi all the 10th in Israel for an inheritance.
All the 10th. Now we're starting to see clearly that this is a tithe. All the 10th of the children of Israel came to Levi, came to the priest. That was their inheritance. So if you had 100 bushels of wheat, you took 10, and the best of that 100, 10% of it, you took 10 bushels, and it had to be the best ones. And you brought that to the Most High. The priest took it, and they offered it to the Most High, and they used it for the worship of the Most High. Or if you raised goats, 10% of your goats, the best ones had to go to the Most High, and the firstborn of each and every one had to go into the Most High. That was the inheritance of Levi. Let's read on.
For an inheritance, for their service which they serve, even the service of the tabernacle of the congregation.
And this is the tithes, for the service of the tabernacle of the congregation. And what do you do there? Give sacrifices. That was the whole purpose of the tithes. That is the purpose of the tithes, and that's why they're necessary. That's what you do with tithes. And once again, if somebody's not talking about servicing the tabernacle of the congregation where you give the worship of sacrifice to the Most High, then it's not really tithes. All of that is just, like I said, giving them money. It's just like me being like, here, hey, y'all, here's $10. That's all it is. It's not a tithe. It's not being dedicated to the Most High. It's not being what it says in the scriptures here, being heaved to the Most High. We'll see clearly that tithes is a sacrifice. Tithes required a sacrifice to the Most High. Let's read on.
Verse 22. Neither must the children of Israel henceforth come nigh the tabernacle of the congregation, lest they bear sin and die. But the Levite shall do the service of the tabernacle of the congregation, and they shall bear their iniquity. It shall be a statute forever throughout all your generations, that among the children of Israel they have no inheritance. But the tithes of the children of Israel.
But the tithes of the children of Israel clearly stated, this is the tithes. And remember what we read earlier. This was corn, this was oil, this was wine, this was grain, this was your first fruits. It didn't say when you got $50,000 bills, you got to give 10% of that, give $5,000 to the church. That's not what it was saying. That's not at all what it was saying. It was talking about being an agrarian society and producing your flour, your meat offerings, your drink offerings, everything needed to worship the Most High, it was given to the priest. And this was 10% of what you had, what you raised, what you cultivated, and the priest took that. That was your tithes. Those are the true tithes. It's not money. It is the things that you grow and harvest and give to the priest for the service of the Most High. Let's read on.
The rest of verse 24.
Read 24 again, actually.
But the tithes of the children of Israel, which they offer as a heave offering.
Which they offer as a heave offering. They offered the tithes to the Most High as a heave offering. Meaning they took it, lifted it up, and said, Most High, this is yours. This is your portion. And brought it back down. They heaved it to the Most High. Dedicated to nothing but the use of the Most High. Now, once again, if you are in a church or in a group or an assembly or wherever, and they're talking about giving tithes, don't just ask, can I give fruit? Can I give vegetables? Ask, if I give fruit and vegetables, are you going to heave it to the Most High? And it's going to be used for further sacrificing? If the answer is no, it's not a true tithe. Just look at it like a loan. All right, brother, here you go. It is the $50 you asked for. That's all it is. It is not a tithe. If they're not using it for worship, using it for the sacrifices, and if they are not heaving it to the Most High. If they're not hitting those two out of the checklist, it's not a tithe. And also, they got to know about the priesthood. They got to know who is facilitating the priesthood. They got to know how to give these sacrifices. If they don't know any of that, what you're doing is not tithing. This is tithes, giving the first fruits of everything that you cultivate to the Most High. That is a tithe. Let's read on.
As a heave offering unto the Most High, I have given to the Levites to inherit. Therefore have I said unto them, among the children of Israel, they shall have no inheritance.
And also, some people say that tithes are so that we can give it to the homeless and they can all eat. And people who are hungry or less fortunate, they can have food. That's not the purpose of the tithes. Now, that's all good. We're not, obviously, that's a beautiful thing. We should all be doing that. We should all be helping out those who have less than. But that's not the purpose of the tithes. The tithes are to facilitate the priest giving the offerings to the Most High. That is the whole purpose of tithes. Let's read on.
Verse 25. And the Most High spake unto Moses, saying, Thus speak unto the Levites, and say unto them, When ye take of the children of Israel the tithes which I have given you from them for your inheritance, then ye shall offer up and heave offering of it for the Most High, even a 10th part
Once
of the tithe.
Again, you took a 10th of the tithe and heaved it to the Most High. This was required when you received the tithes. If you were not doing that, once again, I cannot reiterate enough. If you are not giving a heave offering to the Most High, you are not giving tithes. You are not tithing. You're just giving gifts. You're just giving a loan. You're just giving somebody something. That's it. If you are not heaving it to the Most High and it's not used for his sacrifices. Let's read on.
Verse 27. And this your heave offering shall be reckoned unto you, as though it were the corn of the threshing floor, and as the fullness of the winepress. Thus ye also shall offer a heave offering unto the Most High of all your tithes, which ye receive of the children of Israel, and ye shall give thereof of the Most High's heave offering to Aaron and the priests. And all of your gifts you shall offer every heave offering unto the Most High, of all the best thereof, even the hollow part thereof out of it.
So part of the tithes was that the children of Israel, or the children of Levi, the priesthood would eat of and they would be full. They would not lack. But the main purpose of it was to give the sacrifice to the Most High. So they took a 10th part of the 10th and heaved it to the Most High and dedicated it to his worship and nothing else. You could do nothing but burn that on the altar for a sweet savor. But the priests also had their portion, that they would eat and they would be full. Let's read on.
Verse 30. Therefore thou shalt say unto them, when ye have heaved the best thereof from it, then it shall be counted unto the Levites as the increase of the threshing floor, and as the increase of the winepress. And ye shall eat it in every place, and ye and your households, for it is your reward for your service in the tabernacle of the congregation.
All right, we'll drop that right there if you'll get that Exodus chapter 34, or 35 actually. And Exodus chapter 35, we'll start at verse 4. So we see that even the Levites gave tithes unto the Most High. The children of Israel gave tithes, the tenths of everything in harvest, to Levi, and Levites gave the 10th of that to the Most High himself and offered the sacrifice to him. It got burnt on the altar, and they didn't eat that. They didn't consume that. They didn't use that for their own needs, nothing else. They sacrificed to the Most High, and that's what they did. But then the rest of it, they could use for their purposes. If they were just hungry and they wanted a snack, they could go in the tithes and eat that. If they were having a feast and they wanted to feed everybody, they could do that from the tithes. But it was for the Levites to do their business, to do the worship of the Most High. That was the whole purpose of these tithes. All right, now you still can give money. And unfortunately, because Israel is such a abused nation, we start doing some huge overcorrects. Because Christianity has took us and robbed us of all our money and everything we have, we do a huge overcorrect and say, you never give money. You never do money, ever. We don't do that at all. And that's not the case. Now, we see that tithes are corn, oil, wine, things you need to give the service, the worship to the Most High. But money was still involved. And we're going to get that here in Exodus chapter 25 and verse 4. We're going to see the purpose of giving money as well. Let's get that. Exodus chapter 5, verse 4. 35, verse 4.
And Moses spake unto all the congregation of the children of Israel, saying, This is the thing which the Most High commanded, saying, Take ye from among you an offering unto the Most High, whosoever is of willing heart.
All right, so we see a difference between this offering and the tithes. The tithes was required and mandated, 10%. If you gave 9%, off with your head. You just shorted the Most High of what he required, you're through. There's nothing more for you. It's over for you. But this offering was about willingly giving. The tithe was required, a mandated 10%, nothing less. This was, hey, I got a little change on me. Y'all priests, y'all want this? All right, yeah, sure. Go put that in the basket. This was whatever you willingly wanted to give. Whatever somebody willingly wanted to give. And if somebody said, hey, I don't want to just give y'all change. I want to clean out my bank account and give it to y'all. I'm good. I don't need it. I covered everything. I'm straight. All my bills are paid. I'm set for good. All right. I just want, because I want to do this because I love the Most High, and I want the priest to flourish so they can keep giving these oblations. I'm gonna clean out my whole bank account, and I'm gonna give it to you. That's what people could do that if they wanted to, but it was all freely done. There was no mandates like double tithes. There was no mandates like this has to be 50% of your income. There was none of that. It was whatever somebody freely wanted to give. And now, once people freely gave, what was it used for? Let's read on.
Whosoever is of a willing heart, let him bring it, an offering of the Most High, gold and silver and brass.
So gold, silver, and brass, the children of Israel brought this willingly, these precious metals. And what else?
And blue and purple and scarlet and fine linen and goat's hair and ram skins dyed red and badger skins and shittim wood.
Go ahead and read on.
And oil for the light, and spices for anointing oil, and for the sweet incense, and onyx stones, and stones to be set for the ephod, and for the breastplate.
So we're starting to see what they were bringing, what they brought willingly, which was some of their special oil that was used for lighting, some special oil for anointing, spices and things like that, sweet incense, onyx stones, and precious metals, and they put it in the ephod. They made anointing oil. They made tabernacle curtains. And what else did they make? Let's read on.
And every wise heart, and every wise hearted among you shall come and make all that the Most High hath commanded. The tabernacle.
They were using this to make the tabernacle. Moses at this time was coming out of Egypt. They didn't have a physical place to assemble. So they had to build a tabernacle. And Moses instituted a build a tabernacle fund. Everybody give whatever you want to give, whether that's 1 shekel of gold or 80 shekels. No matter what you want to give it. Everybody who's wise-hearted, everybody who wants to do it willingly, do it so we can build this tabernacle. Moses didn't say, yo, I need a chariot just like the Egyptians, so I need y'all to give me the gold, I need y'all to give me the wood so I can build, I need that. No, he said, we need to build a tabernacle. We need to build a place where we worship the Most High, so everybody give, so we can build that place. Once again, not for Moses' own gain, not for Aaron's own gain, but to build a place where they worship. So along with their tithes, with their mandatory 10% of all their grain, everything they raised, they also freely gave of all their other precious materials so that they could build the tabernacle. Let's jump up to the 19th verse.
The cloths of service, to do service in the holy place, the holy garments for Aaron the priest, and the garments of his sons, to minister in the priest office.
So this is what it was for. They even donated cloth so that the children of Israel could allow the priests to make their garments so they could worship the Most High. Once again, it wasn't a nice Gucci suit or a nice Louis suit. That's not what it was. It was an ephod, it was the robes, it was all the garments that the priest needed to worship the Most High. That was the whole purpose of this free will offering, so that they could have everything they needed to minister in the priest office. Once again, they didn't need a jet to minister at this time. They needed a tabernacle. They needed garments. They needed all the priestly things. And that's what they donated. That's what they gave. and they did it all freely. Of all their valuables, they gave it freely. This is the difference between a tithe and any type of monetary offering. Or it's not even monetary. It's whatever you want to give. Like I said, anything valuable, anything needed, you give that freely. But the things used directly for the sacrifices, 10%. That was the difference between money or anything else and the tithes. Let's read on.
And all the congregation of the children of Israel departed from the presence of Moses. And they came, every one whose heart stirred him up, and every one whom his spirit made willing. And they brought the Most High's offering to the work of the tabernacle of the congregation, and for all his service, and for the holy garments.
All right, so everybody brought this willingly. There was no constraints. There was no mandate of X percent. It was all what you willingly wanted to give to the Most High. Now, the tithes, what you grew, what you raised, once again, that was a mandatory 10%. But it wasn't a 10% of your income. It wasn't, I'm a carpenter and I build people's houses and I make $150,000 a year, so you got to get 10% of that. That's not what it was. It was freely whatever you wanted to give out of that account. Out of that proceeds, whatever you wanted to give. But everything you grow, everything you receive, that is definitely a mandatory 10%. And that was the difference. So when your Christian church or whoever is telling you, give 10% of your bank account, that is not righteous. That is not true tithes. Let's read on.
And they came, both men and women, as many as were willing-hearted, and brought bracelets, and earrings, and rings, and tablets, all jewels of gold. And every man that offered an offering of gold unto the Most High.
So everybody offered this offering unto the Most High by giving to the priest so they could build the tabernacle where they worship the Most High. And all of them came willingly. There was no constraints. There was no bounds. There was no mandates of you give this amount. There was none of that. It was all freely given in this case. There are offerings that people can freely give, and there are mandatory tithe offerings as well. For time's sake, we'll drop that. Let's jump up to actually the next chapter, Exodus chapter 36, and we'll start in the first verse.
Then wrought Bezalel and Aloiab, and every wise-hearted man, in whom the Most High put wisdom and understanding to know how to work all manner of work for the service of the sanctuary, according to all that the Most High had commanded. And Moses called Bezalel and Aloiab, and every wise-hearted man, in whose heart the Most High had put wisdom, even every one whose heart stirred him up to come unto the work to do it. And they received of Moses all the offering which the children of Israel had brought for the work of the service of the sanctuary, to make it withal. And they brought yet unto him free offerings every morning.
All right, so this is a free will offering. Every morning they were bringing free will offerings unto Moses. Every single morning. And they were all doing it freely, whatever they wanted to give. Along with their tithes when the high holy days came, all those things that were required that they needed, they brought them to Moses. And these two brothers were building the tabernacle. They were actually given the spirit of wisdom to construct the sanctuary, all the curtains, all the altars, everything that they were building at the time. Let's see what they said to Moses. Read on.
And all the wise men had wrought all the work of the sanctuary, came every man from his work which they made. And they spake unto Moses, saying, the people bring much more than enough for the service of the work, which the Most High commanded to make.
They said, hey, Moses, the people brought more than we need. They're bringing much more. Moses, what are we going to do? They brought a lot, and we actually can't use some of this stuff. Read on.
And Moses gave commandment, and they caused it to be proclaimed throughout the camp, saying, let neither man nor woman make any more work for the offering of the sanctuary. So the people were restrained from bringing.
They had to restrain people from bringing.
What?
They had to basically say, brother, I know you want to, brother, we don't need it. Brother, thank you, brother. I thank you for the gold. Thank you for the pallets of gold on your truck. But, brother, we don't need it. All right, brother, you got to send it back. Send it back right now. We don't need it. Now, how many of us hear this in the Christian church. They like to go to Malachi 3. They don't like to go to this. They don't like to say, brother, we don't have enough. When Creflo asks for the $65 million jet and he gets $80 million, what does he say? Keep bringing. God is good. Keep bringing that money in. He doesn't say, we have enough. Stop. Y'all need to stop giving right now. Stop freely giving. I have enough for what I need. Y'all are good. No, he says, keep bringing that money. Keep bringing it in. And this is a greedy dog that cannot have enough. Not just Creflo, but all of them. They're greedy dogs. And sometimes that even falls on us, which we're going to get into. We can't even just call out Christians. Sometimes it happens with our own brothers who proclaim to love Israel. They abuse these systems of tithes and free will offerings, which we're going to get into. But before we get into that, if pre-shocking on you get Ezra in the Bible, Ezra chapter 6, verse 1. Before we get into that, since we're on the topic of giving money, which people did do, once again, it was freely, though. It wasn't a mandated 10%. They freely gave whatever precious items they wanted to give, whatever it may be. Many brothers are super anti-giving a group or church money, which, once again, is not biblical. It's just a huge overcorrect from the damage that Christianity has done to us. And they go so far as to say, oh, brother, you 501c3? Oh, that's wicked. You wicked. I joined that group because they 501c3. Brother, what? That's like saying, oh, Raj, you work? You got a W-2? Oh, you wicked. You wicked, Ak. You got a W-2? You wicked. You got your own business? You got 1099? Oh, Yakinat, you wicked. You off. You off, brother. You got 1099. That's essentially saying the same exact thing. Brother's not wicked because they had to go into the system that the government had. That's not wickedness. Then they have this misconception that 501c3 means you got to teach what the government tells you, which is absolutely not the case. Now, you can't get into politics. That is mandated by the 501c3. You can't say, hey, with all this money that I'm getting tax-free, I need y'all to vote for Biden. That's what you can't do. But the government is not in your ear like, you got 501c3? You want to keep these taxes? We'll tell them that homosexuality is cool. They're not doing that. They're not doing that. Now, I don't like to name drop groups like that, but I will in this case. IUIC has a 501c3, and many people examine that, and they look and say, look, IUIC has a 501c3. They are wicked. And that is utter foolishness. Now, once again, we don't agree with IUIC on anything, basically, except that we are the Israelites. Other than that, we don't agree. However, I commend the brothers for being organized, for coming together, and going and getting their 501c3. And the government, because of their 501c3, is not telling them, you got to preach this, you got to preach that, you got to teach that. They are not doing that. That is one thing that they are doing right, going and getting a 501c3 so the government is not going and taking all the tax money. That is something they are doing well. And like I said, I commend the brothers for being organized and coming together and doing that. This is not something I would use if I was saying that they were wicked. We can go back and forth on doctrine, but not a 501c3. And let's show that in the scriptures, that if it was America back then, the children of Israel would have had 501c3. Let's show that in the scriptures as well. Ezra chapter 6, verse 1.
Then Darius the king made a decree, and search was made in the house of the rolls where the treasures were laid up in Babylon.
All right, so this is the time of the Persian Empire, when the children of Israel, after 70 years, had been in Babylon. Their temple was destroyed, and now they were released under the Persian captivity, and they built their temple, or they were about to build it. And King Darius, the king of the Persians, not the king of Israel, the king of the Persians, made this decree. Let's read it.
Verse 2. And there was found at Archmea in the palace, that is, in the province of the Medes, a roll, and therein was a record thus written. In the first year of Cyrus the king, the same Cyrus the king made a decree concerning the house of Abba at Jerusalem.
Once again, this is Cyrus, not the king or governor of Judah, but the king of the Persians. This is a Gentile, somebody of the other nations, making this decree about the children of Israel. Let's read it.
That the house be builded, the place where they offer sacrifices, and that the foundations thereof be strongly laid, the height thereof 80 cubits, and the breadth thereof 80 cubits.
All right, so Cyrus and Darius are confirming and making a decree and putting it in their law and writing it down that these children are going to build, or the children of Israel are going to build this house. We are decreeing it, they must build this temple. Let's read on.
Verse 4, with 3 rows of great stones and a row of new timber, and let the expenses be given out of the king's house. And also that the gold and silver vessels of the house of Abba, which Nebuchadnezzar took forth out of the temple, which is at Jerusalem, and brought it unto Babylon, be restored and brought again unto the temple, which is at Jerusalem, every one to his place, and place them in the house of Abba.
All right, so they they decreed, and they wrote this down and recorded it, saying, build the house of the Most High. Build it in Jerusalem. And all the things that Nebuchadnezzar took out, all the gold, all the brass and everything, have it sent back to Jerusalem. Have it sent in so they can have the temple, this nice ornate place, decorated and furnished as the Most High required. Let's read on.
Verse 6, now therefore Tatian, governor beyond the river, Shethibanaziah, and your companions, the Aprasites, which are beyond the river, be ye far from thence, that the work of this house of Abba alone.
So he said, you governors that I have set up around this place, you better leave it alone. Don't touch that place. Don't go over there talking about, hey, y'all owe me a tax. Hey, y'all owe me money. I'm extorting you all. You want to keep this place? You better pay me X amount or I'm going to destroy it. He said, you better leave them alone. These people are exempt from your tribute. These people, the children of Israel, are exempt from your tax. Is literally what Cyrus and Darius had decreed. That they were exempt from their tax, from their tribute, from anything that they want to owe from all these other people. Let's read on.
That the governor of the Jews and the elders of the Jews build this house of Abba in his place. Moreover, I make a decree what ye shall do to the elders of these Jews for the building of this house of Abba, that of the king's goods, even of the tribute beyond the river, forthwith expenses be given unto these men, that they be not hindered.
He literally said, these expenses, the tribute, all the funds, all the money going to them, let it not be hindered. Don't say, I need to take my cut. I need to take my taxes. Oh, you're in this tax bracket, so I'm going to take this chunk. He said, don't let it be hindered. Basically, in the Persian times, the children of Israel had a 501c3. And don't tell me Nehemiah and Ezra were wicked. I don't want to hear you say Nehemiah and Ezra were wicked because they were tax exempt from the Persians. And I also don't want to hear that the king of Persia was coming to Nehemiah like, hey, this is what you're going to teach, okay? You're going to teach the Persians were the greatest. You're going to teach the Persians were the real Israelites. None of that. He said, leave it all alone. Don't touch any of it. Let them do their service of the Most High. Literally, the children of Israel here were exempt from their tribute, from their taxes. To have a 501c3 today is not wicked. Now, once again, we could go back and forth with IUIC about doctrine, but one thing we will not go back and forth with is a 501c3 and say that is what makes them wicked. And I see all these types of weird little doctrines popping up of people posting, look, they got a 501c3. And yeah, it's a public record. You can look that up. They got a 501c3, and they wicked. That is not anything. That doesn't make somebody righteous or doesn't make anybody wicked. It's just a move they make as a business move. And it has nothing to do with whether they are wicked or not. Brothers need to learn and grow and understand that that's just like saying, brother, you got a W-2 from working at a convenience store, you wicked. That is not at all the case. For time's sake, we'll drop that. Let's go to Exodus chapter 34, and we'll pick up at the first verse, Priest Rosh, Exodus chapter 34 and 1. Now we'll drop that. We see that money and funds did come to the priest. They did use it for the service of the tabernacle. They used it to build the temple. They used it to maintain the temple. They used to get anything that they needed to service the temple. They weren't doing it to get rich, to get fat. That wasn't the purpose of that free will offering. But back on the topic of tithes. Tithes, once again, was not the money that you gave. Tithes was the things you gave to facilitate the worship, the sacrifices. If you raised goats, you gave a tenth of that, and you gave the firstborn, that was your tithes. And that was what they gave. If you grew wheat, you gave the tenth of that, and you gave the best, and that was your tithes. The priest used it to sacrifice. The priest used that to worship the Most High. Now, with that in mind, let's go to Exodus chapter 31, and we'll start in the first verse.
Exodus chapter 34?
34, yeah. Exodus chapter 34, and we'll pick up in the first verse.
And the Most High said unto Moses, Hew thee 2 tables of stone like unto the first, and I will write upon these tables the words that were in the first tables, which thou breakest. And be ready in the morning, and come up in the morning unto Mount Sinai, and present thyself there to me in the top of the mount.
All right, jump to verse 27. So we see Moses had some tables of stone, and then he broke them. And then the Most High said, come back up. I'm going to give you more tables. What was on those tables? Anybody can tell me? Anybody knows? What did Moses write on the tables? The 10 Commandments. What chapter is this? Exodus 20? Exodus 20? This is Exodus 20? This is Exodus 34. Here you find the true 10 Commandments. All right. Let's go to the 27th verse.
And the Heavenly Father said unto Moses, Write thou these words, for after the tenor of these words I have made a covenant with thee and with Israel. And he was there with the Most High 40 days and 40 nights. He did neither eat bread nor drink water, and he wrote upon the tables the words of the covenant, the 10 Commandments.
We clearly see that here in Exodus chapter 34, the 10 Commandments. Let's examine some of them. Do they say, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not commit adultery? I'll tell you in advance, if you don't know, they don't. Let's look at what those 10 Commandments are. Jump up to the 18th verse, Priest Rosh.
The feast of unleavened bread shalt thou keep.
This is a commandment. So, obviously, at the beginning of 34, he said, come up to the mountain with tables of stone. And at the end of 34, he says, he came down with tables of stone, written on them were 10 Commandments. So, in between them, Moses got the 10 Commandments. So, in between that, we see, verse 18, the feast of unleavened bread shalt thou keep. This is a commandment. This is not a statute. This is not a law. This is a commandment. The Most High commands us to keep the feast of unleavened bread. Read on.
7 days thou shalt eat unleavened bread, as I commanded thee, in the time of the month Abib. For in the month Abib thou camest out from Egypt. All that openeth the matrix is mine.
This is another commandment. All that opens the matrix is the Most High's, and we must offer it to him. This is not a statute. This is not a law. This is a commandment to give the first unto the Most High, everything that opens the matrix. Read on.
And every firstling among thy cattle, whether ox or sheep, that is male. But the firstling of an ass thou shalt redeem with a lamb, and if thou redeem him not, then shalt thou break his neck. All the firstborn of thy sons thou shalt redeem, and none shall appear before me empty.
This is a commandment that when we come to the commanded feast, like the Feast of Unleavened Bread, and then he goes on to talk about the Feast of Weeks, which is another commandment, the feast, the 50th day, or the first day of that feast, and also the Feast of Ingathering, the 50th day at the year's end. These are all commandments. When we come to those commanded high holy days, we're commanded to not come empty. We're commanded to come and bring the first fruits, the tithes. We are commanded to do this. This is literally a commandment. And I mean that, literally. I'm not just saying that figuratively. Literally a commandment to do. We don't know the difference between law, statutes, and commandments, and we just say that. It's a commandment to wear fringes, brother. It's a commandment to, no, it's a commandment to come to these feasts and give the Most High the first fruits. Jump down to verse 26. Priest Rosh.
The first of the first fruits of thy land thou shalt bring unto the house of the Most High, thy Abba.
This is another commandment. The first fruits, the tithes, are a commandment. We must bring the tithes. So people talking about we don't do that anymore are telling you we don't do the commandments anymore. This is literally a commandment. And like I said, it's not like wearing fringes. That's a statute. Now, it's important to do all of that, but there's a difference between law, statute, commandments. The commandments are literally the foundation of our covenant. They are the foundation of all that we do. You're not an Israelite because you wear fringes or you wear tassels. That doesn't make you an Israelite. You're an Israelite when you come to the Feast of Unleavened Bread. You're an Israelite when you come to the Feast of Weeks and bring your first fruits to the Most High and keep these commandments. That's the foundation of everything. That is the essence of what we're supposed to do. That is the essence of what makes somebody an Israelite, is to come to the Feast of the Most High and give him his sacrifice and facilitate the priest giving the sacrifice to the Most High. It's not fringes. They act like fringes is the main thing. That's the mainstay. That's what makes you an Israelite. And that's not the case. If we're going hard on brother like, hey, where your fringes at? Oh, you can't talk to me if you ain't wearing fringes. Hey, I don't want to hear it. You ain't wearing fringes. Nah, la, 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 la. No fringes on, la, la, la. No. If you're going so hard like that for fringes, which is our statute, we should be going harder for the commandments. It's important to do both. It's important to do the statutes, it's important to do the law, but it's also more important to do the commandments. That's the foundation of everything. The commandments, like I said, is a foundation, and you build on it with the law. The law is the understanding on how to give sacrifices. Now, you can't do the commandment if you don't know how to give sacrifices. You can't keep Passover or unleavened bread if you never learn how to give sacrifices. Now, the statutes teach us how to deal with one another and deal with the Most High while we're at this feast doing the law of the Most High. That is the whole purpose of the law, statutes, and commandments. And if we don't delineate between them, we'll never understand the truth behind tithes. Tithes are a commandment so that we can do this feast. And the law of the tithes is that you bring your tenth, and the priests take that and they heave it up. And a statute of tithes is don't eat any of that before you give it to the Most High. That is the difference between all of them. It's a commandment to give the tithes. The law teaches you how to give the tithe offering. The statutes are what you do with the tithes so you don't defraud your brother, so you don't rob them of it. Now, unfortunately, people can abuse the system. People do abuse the system of tithes and free will offerings, and people have. And it requires a righteous priesthood to keep it at its right balance. There's a balance between it. You can't say, hey, people just don't give. Don't give anything. You can't do that. But you also can't say, hey, brother, where your tithes at, brother? Let me fleece your pockets. You holding out some tithes. You can't do that. It is a balance. It's a scale, and you need to be right there in the middle. And there's people who are off by manipulating and going on either side of the scale, whether left or right. Let's get that in Luke chapter 11, and we'll start in the 42nd verse. Once again, it's all about a balance. It is not simply just don't give. It's not don't give everything, and you guys are going to be poor and I'm going to be rich. That's not what it is. Christianity has gone way over to the right of just, hey, give me all your money. Give me all of it. You live in an apartment, your light's about to be cut off. All right, well, still give me some money. Your light bill is $100. You only got $100 left. All right, I'm gonna be good to you. Just give me 50. All right. No, they've gone far right, and unfortunately, our brothers who do a huge overcorrect go far left and say we don't give anything, and they got nothing, and they literally have just that, nothing. They don't have a place to gather. They just gather in people's homes, and they doing this and that, and they can't have priests because everybody has to work and do this and that. You have to have the right balance where you receive the right amount and you give those oblations to the congregation. Now, once again, we're going to get examples of people who were off on both directions. Let's get that Luke chapter 11, verse 42, priest.
But woe unto you, Pharisees.
Woe unto you, Pharisees, the Messiah is saying. Woe unto you. Now, we're here for 2 points. Once again, proving in the New Testament what true tithes are, and also showing that that people have abused the system. Read on.
For ye tithe mint and rue and all manner of herbs.
Look what the Messiah said they tithe. This is not why he's saying woe to them, though. But the Pharisees knew the law. They knew the statutes. They knew the commandments. And the Pharisees were tithing mint, rue, and all manners of herbs. We see that in the New Testament. And some people say this law changed or whatever. No, it didn't change. The Pharisees, even today, were doing the same thing. They were tithing mint, rue, and all manners of herbs. These were their tithe offerings. Once again, this is not why the Messiah is charging them. This is not what he's doing. He's charging them for what he's about to say. They do these tithes, and they puff themselves up. They act like they gave tithes, and I'm the best person on the planet. Read on.
And pass over judgment.
But you pass over judgment. You talk about you keeping this commandment of tithes, but you don't do the judgments of the Most High. Judgments are, oh, this person committed adultery. All right, let's go look at the book. The judgment says they're going to be put to death. You know what, brother? If you give me a little extra, we'll let this slide. You know what I'm saying? Well, I won't tell anybody. You passed over judgment and what else?
And the love of Abba.
And the love of the Most High. They didn't give tithes because they loved the Most High. They didn't give tithes because they wanted to keep the commandments of the Most High. They gave tithes so they could be like, hey, brother, look what I'm giving. You see all this wheat? You see this, brother? Hey, Rosh, make sure you look at this wheat right. That's why they gave those tithes. That's why they did it. They passed over the judgment of the Most High and the love of the Most High. Read on.
These ought ye to have done.
So he said this you ought to have done. Giving tithes of herbs, you ought to have done that. That's right on point. Read on.
And not to leave the other undone.
But you couldn't have left the other undone. You can't leave the other undone. So when we say brothers going hard on fringes, they should be going harder on giving tithes. That's not to say that you just forsake the fringes or you forsake this statute or this commandment. And when we say the commandments are the essence and you build everything on top of that, that's not to say you can just do the commandments and you're straight. You have to do the commandments, you have to do the law, and you have to do the statutes, and you have to keep good judgment. We must do it all. We must do everything outlined in our covenant. Read on.
Verse 43. Woe unto you, Pharisees, for ye love the uttermost seats in the synagogues, and greetings in the markets.
So, woe unto the Pharisees because they love the appeal. They love to look like they were on point, when really on the inside they were wicked. He said, woe unto that person that acts like I'm giving all the tithes, but you really don't love the Most High. I'm giving tithes so I can flex on my brethren. Like, look at all this wine I got. Yakanan. How much wine you got? Oh, 2 bottles? I got a whole caseload of bottles. What you doing? Woe unto that person. Woe unto that person that thinks that giving these tithes is a reason to flex on people or a reason to act like you're puffed up. And to be like, hey, I gave those tithes, priest. Can I sit in the front seat with y'all? Can I be your reader? No. That's not what it's about. Read on.
Verse 44. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for ye are as graves which appear not, and the men that walk over them are not aware of them.
They are hypocrites. They are hypocritical, acting like they love the Most High, but inwardly they don't. Let's read on.
Then answered one of the lawyers and said unto him.
So now you had the Pharisees. The Messiah was criticizing him or criticizing them about how they operate. And one of the priests of that time was like, yo, Messiah, you're making us look bad. Read on.
Master, thus saying thou, reproachest us also.
You talking about how the Pharisees give tithes? You making us look bad too, man. Hey, you gotta hush up, Messiah. You making us look bad. Read on.
And he said, woe unto you also, ye lawyers.
The Messiah said, yeah, I'm accusing you too. Woe unto you too, priesthood. Why?
For ye lay men with burdens grievous to be borne.
The priests at this time were putting burdens on the people that the priests themselves wouldn't carry. Finish that verse up.
And ye yourselves touch not the burdens with one of your fingers.
They put burdens on the people that are grievous, and the priests don't go and they wouldn't touch it. They wouldn't do that if the roles were reversed. They were going and being like, hey, y'all need to give double tithes. Why? Because we said so. All right? Y'all want these sacrifices? Give double tithes. 20%. Go ahead. Oh, you must now give a free will offering to come in. All right? That's what you got to do. $50 up front. All right? Oh, you don't want it? All right. No oblation for you. No sacrifice for you. You got sin on you? How much money you got? Let me see. Open up the pockets. Let me see. You ain't got nothing? Nah, get out of here. No sin offering for you. This is what the Messiah was accusing them of. These people became greedy, and they loved the uppermost seats. They loved the greatness and the flair of being a priest or being a Pharisee or being anybody with some power and not the love of the Most High. They didn't do it for the Most High. All right, so let's drop that and let's go to 1 Samuel chapter 2, verse 12. We're going to look at another instance of people doing this exact same thing. We want to always condemn the Christian church for being greedy, but we got to look at ourselves too. Don't act like Israel didn't do this. Don't act like Israel doesn't still do this. Now, once again, this class is not about shaming anybody, but chief priests and anybody else who grew up in One West will tell you some of the things that they were doing. How they were talking about what tithes are money, for one, and secondly, talking about, oh, today, how much money y'all made on the street? Oh, y'all made $20,000 today? Oh, word, okay. Today we're actually gonna do double tithes. Today y'all would have give 2,000, but now I need y'all to give 4. Like what? What? Just out of nowhere, double tithes? Yeah, yes, brother, yes, because we the head priest and we said so. Don't act like Israel wasn't doing the same thing. We condemn the Christian church all the time, and don't look at our own brethren and say, hey, we're going off. Or don't look inside ourselves and say, hey, we're going off. I'm going off. We abusing the people. We can't be doing double tithes for no reason. All right, yeah, we're going to kill that. Instead of doing that, don't just look at the Christian church. Don't look at anybody who's greedy except ourselves first. Let's look at ourselves first and correct ourselves. We, unfortunately, always had a history of doing this exact same thing. Let's get that in 2 Samuel. They were doing this even before the Messiah's time. 2 Samuel chapter 2, verse 12.
1 Samuel?
1 Samuel chapter 2, verse 12. Appreciate you.
Now the sons of Eli were sons of Belial. They knew not the Most High.
Now Eli was the priest at this time, and he had 2 sons. And they knew not the Most High. Eli didn't do his due diligence in correcting them and teaching them and showing them how to worship the Most High and how to operate in this priesthood. They just saw all the tithes coming in, all the money coming in, and they said, yo, this is a good lick, brother. What you want to do? Yeah, we about to take this thing over. About to take him from Eli and do what we need to do. I'm about to have the nice boots. I'm going to have the nice vehicles. I'm going to have the nice chariots. I'm going to have the biggest house ever. Let's read on.
And the priest's custom with the people was.
Now, this is not the custom that Moses set up. This is Eli's son's custom that they set up. What they do?
That when any man offered sacrifice, the priest's servant came while the flesh was in seething with a flesh hook of 3 teeth in his hand. And he struck it into the pan or kettle or cauldron or pot. All that the flesh hook brought up, the priest took for himself. So they did in Shiloh unto all the Israelites that came thither.
So they start abusing the system. Basically saying, obviously with the oblation, with the sacrifices, the way it works that everybody eats. First the Most High eats. Then the priests eat. Then the congregation eat their portion as well. And the priests weren't just satisfied, or these priests weren't just satisfied with their portion. They said, oh, you cooking yours? Let me get some of that. Let me get that. That's mine. You're like, damn, didn't you just have yours? Nah, brother, this is mine too. Read on.
Also, before they burnt the fat.
Now, this is really where it starts to get bad. Before they even burnt the fat. What that means is, before they even cut up the offering for the Most High and offer it to him, the priests were going and taking some. The priests were going and dipping before they even gave to the Most High. Read on.
The priest's servant came and said to the man that sacrificed, give flesh to roast for the priest, for he will not have sodden flesh of thee, but raw.
So they said, before they even offered the sacrifice to the Most High, they said, hey, Eli's sons, they need some of that. Go ahead, we need some of that right now. We didn't even sacrifice yet, bro. What you trying to do? Hey, we need it right now. Read on.
And if any man said unto him, let thee not fail to burn.
If any man was righteous, and when these servants came and said, give us some of that right now, and the man came back and said this, read it.
Let them not fail to burn the fat presently, and then take as much as thy soul desireth.
So if a man was righteous and said, yo, I hear you, brother. We ain't going to defraud the priest, but we're supposed to sacrifice to the Most High first. We need to give him his sacrifices. The Most High eats first, then the priest, then the people. All right, I understand where I'm at. I'm going to give you as much as you want. Let's sacrifice the Most High first. What was the answer from these wicked priests?
Then he would answer him, nay, but thou shalt.
Nah, brother. It ain't working that way today. Oh, up in Eli day, we don't do it like that. That was Moses. Moses was a little off. This is how we do it today. Read on.
But thou shalt give it to me now.
You going to give it to me now. We didn't sacrifice it yet? No, we going to give it now. And it got worse. What did they say?
And if not, I will take it by force.
If you don't, you're going to catch these hands, brother. Inside the temple, right? Yes, brother, inside the temple.
2-piece.
You're going to get 2-piece. You don't give me my piece, you're going to get 2-piece, brother. What's up? Give me my piece before they even offer it to the Most High. You see that our own brothers were going wicked. We ourselves were wicked. And it's one thing, yes, we understand the errors of the Christian church. We understand. But we got to look at ourselves too. Look at our people abusing this system, abusing the tithes. Acting like, hey, you don't give me my tithes right now, you're going to catch these hands. You're going to get it, brother. Give me my tithes right now. Abusing the system that the Most High set forth for the priest. Read on.
Wherefore, the sin of the young men was very great before the Most High, for men abhorred the offering of the Most High.
Their sin, the spirit on them was horrible. And they made it so grievous, like the Most High said, men actually started hating the commandments. Men actually said, damn, it's Passover. I got to go and deal with Eli and his son. Dang, man. They're going to take everything I have. I'm going to be starving all day. Man, that was unfortunate. That's not how it's supposed to be. The people are supposed to love the feast. I got my tithes ready. I got my portion. We're going to go. We're going to celebrate. We're going to have fun. All praises. But when it was Eli and his sons reigning, or when it's Eli's sons really, people hated the sacrifices. People hated offering because they didn't know if they were going to get threatened. They didn't know if they were going to get robbed. They didn't know what was going to happen. And once again, that wasn't a Gentile. That was our own people bringing forth this burden upon them. Let's jump up to the 22nd verse.
Now Eli was very old, and heard all that his sons did unto all Israel, and how they lay with the women that assembled at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation.
So it didn't even stop. It didn't stop there. Not only were they robbing the people of their tithes, they would see the women that would come together and be like, hey, you know, I'm priest. I'm Eli's son. What's up? What you trying to do, girl? And go in the back and be getting it on the feast of the Most High after just robbing the brother of his sacrifices. These brothers were abusing the system, abusing the power given to them. And the Most High did not take that lightly. Don't think the Most High was just like, hey, that's my priest. That's cool. Sometimes even here, we get in this mindset like, I'm a priest. I'm good. I'm set. I'm a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. That ain't the case. The Most High will stop you in your tracks if you are not doing what you're supposed to be doing. Let's read on.
And he said unto them, why do ye such things? For I hear of your evil dealings by all this people. Nay, my sons, for it is no good report that I hear. Ye make the Most High's people to transgress. Now,
Eli tried a little bit. You know, he wasn't hard on them. He was just like, hey, boy, don't be doing that now. Don't be doing that, boy, okay? And they say, all right, whatever, Dad. We good. Read on.
If one man sin against another, the judge shall judge him. But if a man sin against the Most High, who shall entreat for him?
So Eli was trying to warn his sons, even though he didn't do his job like he was supposed to. He was supposed to be a strong man, be like, yo, this ain't happening in this house. If I need to lay you down, I will do that. But you ain't about to be acting like this in the house of the Most High. He didn't. He just tried to give him a slap on the wrist. Said, don't do that. You know the Most High going to get you. Read on.
Notwithstanding, they hearken not unto the voice of their father, because the Most High would slay them.
So the Most High had already said, no, it's too late for them. They took my priesthood. They took the tithes. They took the free will offerings. They even took the sisters and abused them. Nah, you ain't fit to be on this earth. And the Most High set forth a whole course of action to kill these brothers. Literally set forth a whole course of action where the children of Israel went to war, the Ark of the Covenant was taken, and these boys were slain. The Most High was not playing. The Most High was not with people abusing his tithes and abusing his offerings. He was not with that one ounce. And he had these men put to straight up death because of what they did. So with these tithes, we must give, but it's a balance. Priests should not be abusing it and trust the Most High. If somebody is, they're going to be taken out, just like these brothers were taken out. let's go to verse 11, chapter 2, verse 11. Actually, nah, we're good. Let's go back to Luke. Let's go to Luke 18. Actually, for time's sake, we'll go ahead and skip that. We'll go to Nehemiah chapter 13, verse 4. We might come back to Luke. Let's keep that Luke. Go ahead and grab Nehemiah 13, verse 4. All right, so we see people abusing it by trying to get fat and trying to get as much as they can. But you also will see the other end, where people neglected the tithes. And the Most High still brought forth punishment upon them. Nehemiah chapter 13, verse 4.
And before this, Eliashib, the priest, having the oversight of the chamber of the house of our Abba, was allied unto Tobiah. And he had prepared for him a great chamber, where aforetime they laid the meat offerings, the frankincense, and the vessels, and the tithes of the corn, the new wine, and the oil, which was commanded to be given to the Levites, and the singers, and the porters, and the offerings of the priests.
All right, so Nehemiah doesn't give us a lot of details, but we can see what's going on here. Eliashib, this priest, was allied with Tobiah, and they said, man, this storehouse right here is beautiful. It's huge. My house is small. I got a little apartment, but it's a big place. I got a plan. Tell children we don't need no more tithes. We don't do tithes anymore. Let's clear this place out. Let's get rid of all this stuff. This is going to be my house. We gonna live here together. You're going to get that section. I'm going to get this section. It's a big room. It's all ornate and everything. We don't need to put flour in it. Brothers got flour in here. What's wrong, brothers? This is a nice room. This is going to be my house. So they got rid of the tithes. They got rid of it. Read on.
Verse 6. But in all this time was not I at Jerusalem, for in the 13th year of Xerxes, king of Babylon, came I unto the king. And after certain days obtained I leave of the king.
So Nehemiah said this happened when he stepped away. And unfortunately, you start to see that all the time. The children of Israel are building their sanctuary, building their temple. It's like they completely forgot everything that happened just a few years ago. They start going wicked and start going off immediately. So right when Nehemiah stepped away to go handle some business, the priests were like, yo, this is a nice room. Let's get rid of these tithes. We don't need these tithes anymore. Let's stop this tithe stuff. This is going to be my house. Read on.
Verse 7. And I came to Jerusalem and understood of the evil that Eliashib did for Tobiah in preparing him a chamber in the courts of the house of Abba.
Nehemiah came back and said, yo, what's up with the tithes? Y'all got couches in here and rugs and TVs. What's going on? And he said, oh, yeah, this Tobiah's place now. Eliashib gave it to him. And he was heated. He was upset. And guess what he did? Now, it doesn't tell you, but I would bet that Eliashib was no more a priest. I can tell you, I bet that on money that he was no more a priest after that. When Nehemiah came back and figured that out, they were like, where's Eliashib? I don't know. I haven't seen him in 8 days. That brother's usually here. I don't know what's going on with him. He was out of there because he stopped the system of tithes. Like I said, it's a balance. Read on.
Verse 8. And it grieved me sore.
Like I said, he was heated. You could see smoke coming off of Nehemiah's head. Y'all don't remember Babylon? Really? Y'all want to go back there? Really? I'm good on that. And y'all so quick ready to put us back in Babylon. Nah, we need these tithes to give these offerings. Read on.
Therefore, I cast forth all the household stuff of Tobiah out of the chamber.
Taking this couch, take that to the trash. That TV, that flat screen, that 80-inch, take that to the trash. Straight to the dumpster. Don't sell it. Don't do nothing. Take that straight to the landfill. I don't need it. I don't want it. And what did he do with it? Read on.
Then I commanded, and they cleansed the chambers.
We got to clean this filthy place out. It ain't even just we toss out the trash. We need to clean it. We need to sanctify it again. Read on.
And thither brought I again the vessels of the house of Abba, with the meat offering and the frankincense.
Nehemiah came back and said, hey, y'all need to give these tithes. We need to do this tithe offering, all right? Bring the tithes, fill up the storehouses. Bring in the flour, bring forth the meat, bring forth the frankincense, the wine, everything needed so the priest could give the oblations. We see it's a scale. It's an ebb and flow. It's back and forth. It's a pendulum. There's not just no tithes, and it's not excessive tithes. There's a balance. We all must give, but you don't have to give super excessive. You just make sure the priests have what they need to give these offerings. And more than that, but not so much where the people are getting fleeced and oppressed. That's not the purpose of it. That's not the purpose of it. And we see it cannot go one way. It cannot be an excessive. It cannot be a dearth. It must be right there as a great balance where the people have what they need and the priests have what they need. Now, we see the priests abusing it. The people also abuse this too. Let's now get that Luke 18. Ross, you can go and grab that. Luke chapter 18 and verse 9. Now, with these tithes, as we read earlier, you can't just say, I sent in some tithes, I'm going to miss this feast, though. You can't say, I'm going to get some tithes, but I'm going to still be doing whatever I want to do. What's up, Shad? You got a husband? He don't need to know. But I gave my tithes, though. No, that's not how we do. That's not how it goes. The tithes are one part of our commandment. We must do, or of our covenant. We must do that, but we must do all the other aspects of it as well. Luke chapter 18 and verse 9.
And he spake this parable unto certain which trusted in themselves, that they were righteous and despised others. 2 men went up into the temple to pray.
So the Messiah is giving a parable about somebody being righteous, thinking he's righteous, acting like he's righteous, but despising other people and hating what other people do. Let's read on.
The one a Pharisee, and the other a publican.
So one was a Pharisee. He knew the law. He knew the statutes, the commandments. He knew about giving tithes, and he was giving a bunch of tithes. And the other was a publican, an extortioner, and he was going to say one is going to be justified at the end of this parable. Let's read on.
The Pharisee stood and prayed thus with himself, Abba, I thank thee that I am not as other men are.
He said, God, thank you. Thank you, I ain't like this little homo over here. Dirty, nasty. Thank you, I ain't like this ugly brother over here. Read on.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It's all good. Go ahead.
Extortioners, unjust, adulterers, or even as this publican.
Thank you, God, I ain't no adulterer. It's dirty adulterers over there. Thank you, I'm not unjust, dirty brothers over there. Thank you, I ain't no publican. I ain't extorting money, greedy brother. Look at that greedy brother over there. Turning his nose up to people and all the while talking about, thank you, God. I'm great. I'm good. I'm perfect. Read on. Oh, praises. Read on.
I fast twice in the week.
I ain't like these brothers that just gluttonous and eating all the time. I fast. You remember that time, God, I didn't eat that cheeseburger? Yeah, that was for you. Read on.
I give tithes of all that I possess.
I give all the tithes. I give double tithes, even when they don't ask. I give all my wine, all my flour, I'm good. I'm on point. All these other dirty brothers out here, they ain't cool. But me, I'm good, God. Thank you. Thank you. Read on.
And the publican, standing afar off, would not lift up so much as his eyes unto the heavens.
So the Pharisee was over there like, God, you good. You give me enough to give tithes. I'm on point. I'm keeping the feast day. I'm doing all this. Look at these dirty brothers across the street. Don't even know about Passover. Wicked brothers. Look at this brother ain't even wearing no tassel. Wicked brother over there. But the publican, on the other hand, who may or may not have given tithes, didn't say, was over there, wouldn't even face heaven, wouldn't even look. So, Abba, I'm not even worthy to look at you. I'm wicked. I'm a sinner. I need some help. Please, Abba, help me. Read on.
But smote upon his breast, saying, Abba, be merciful to me, a sinner.
He said, I'm a sinner, Abba. Please, please be merciful upon me. I'm not worthy of your grace. Please, Abba. Please, I'm just begging you. Be merciful upon me. Read on.
I tell you, this man went down to his house justified rather than the other.
He said the publican, the extortioner, the person fleecing people's pockets, but was humble and said, I'm a sinner, I need help. He was more justified than the Pharisee. Pharisee giving all the tithes in the world, but neglecting all the other parts of the covenant. All the parts of grace, mercy, and charity of the Most High, given the new covenant. The publican accepted it. The Pharisee didn't. Talking about I give tithes, I'm doing this and that. That is not enough. We must give the tithes, but like I said, it's a balance for the priest and it's a balance for the people. You can't put everything in tithes and say, I'm giving all the tithes in the world, but then you don't correct yourself. You don't walk the right path of the Most High. We cannot do that. It's a balance. You give your tithes, but also you make sure you applying that to all the other commandments, all the statutes, all the laws. Read on.
For everyone that exalted himself shall be abased, and he that humbled himself shall be exalted.
All right. So when we exalt ourselves, we'll be abased. The Most High will humble us. Those who humble themselves, the Most High will exalt. All right. So it's a balance on all ends, on the priest end and the congregation's end. The congregation must support the priest, but the congregation cannot be extorted for everything they have. And the congregation must give their tithes, but they can't neglect all the other aspects of the commandment either. All right, so after explaining what true tithes are, that they're the goods that we produce through agricultural means, through herding, ranching, or growing crops, some people may be asking, what do I do today? What do we do? I live in an apartment in New York. I don't have no land to grow anything. I barely have a back porch. What am I supposed to do? How do I do this? It's a commandment. What do I need to do? First of all, let's understand the priesthood of today. We went through and showed that Aaron and his sons received the tithes, and actually all of Levi received the tithes, and they gave their tithes to Aaron and his sons, who offered it to the Most High, gave a tithe to the Most High. The priests received the tithes. We have to understand the priesthood of today. Get that, Sirach chapter 45, verse 25, Pre-Shakanon. If you'll grab Psalm chapter 10, chapter 110, and we'll start in the first verse. All right, so once again, we have to understand the priesthood of today before we understand the tithes of today, how to give and offer tithes of today. We must understand Sirach chapter 45, verse 25. Go ahead and read that.
According to the covenant made with David, son of Jesse, of the tribe of Judah, that the inheritance of the king should be to his posterity alone.
So, according to David, unto David, attributed to David, the inheritance of the king, the inheritance of Judah, is going to be given to him and his seed. What else?
So, the inheritance of Aaron,
the inheritance of Aaron, which was what?
Should also be unto his seed.
It was also unto his seed. What's the inheritance of Aaron?
Priesthood.
The priesthood. And also the tithe that all the children of Israel give, so that they can facilitate the priesthood. All that was given to David. And David, throughout the process of time, throughout many generations, from David's lineage came the Messiah on earth. And the Messiah set up this new covenant, the covenant of David. Let's get Psalm chapter 110, verse 1. Priest Rosh.
The Most High said unto my Lord, sit thou at my right hand, until I make thine enemies thy footstool.
So David is professing about this new covenant that's going to come. The Most High said unto his son, said unto the Messiah, the Lord of David, you're going to sit at my right hand. And you're going to stay here until I make your enemies, our enemies, your footstool. Let's jump down to the 4th verse.
The Most High has sworn and will not repent. Thou art a priest forever, after the order of Melchizedek.
The Most High said, I have sworn, I have promised, it's promised in the future, and I will not change from this. You, Messiah the Prince, are a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. The Messiah is a priest forever. He didn't tell this to Aaron. He's telling this to the Messiah himself. You are a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. And like I said earlier, sometimes we get this twisted. Sometimes we think this applies to us too. I'm a priest forever now after the order of Melchizedek. No. Priesthood can be taken. Priesthood can be removed. If we're not walking worthy of this calling, it's going to get taken away. But the Messiah himself, he is the only one who is a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. He is the only one faithful and worthy to be that. Now we need to follow in this calling and pray the Most High never takes it away from us. But look at some of these wicked priests. They got it taken away. And they got more than that taken away. But with that being said, it's after the order of Melchizedek. Let's get that in Hebrews chapter 7, verse 1. Hebrews chapter 7, verse 1, talking about that order of Melchizedek. Now, some people look at tithes and say it's done away with. Some people look at it and say you don't give tithes at all, or you give everything you got. Like I said, it's a balance. There's a balance to it. But tithes didn't start with Aaron. Tithes didn't start with Levi. Tithes didn't start with Moses. Let's get in Hebrews chapter 7, verse 1. Pretty shocking, on.
For this Melchizedek, king of Salem, priest of the Most High Abba, who met Abraham returning from the slaughter of the kings and blessed him.
So the Messiah is a priest after the order of Melchizedek. Let's look at what Melchizedek did. Read on.
Verse 2. To whom also Abraham gave a tenth part of all.
Abraham gave a tenth or a tithe to Abraham. And what did it say in the scriptures? Time won't allow us to go there. But it said he lifted up his hand unto Melchizedek, unto the Most High. And he said, I don't need anything from you, King of Solomon. Because I don't want you to say you made me rich when the Most High blesses me, because I gave him my tithes. I lifted up my hand to him. I heaved it to the Most High. So they were given heave offerings even before Moses and Aaron. Even before them, they were given tithes and they were given heave offerings. And if the Messiah is a high priest after Melchizedek, then we must follow after his order. We must do this too. So that shows it's not done away with, for one. Now, and that shows who the true priesthood is too. Because we need to know that if we're going to give tithes. Once again, if your religious leader is not talking about priesthood, oblations, sacrifices, you're not giving tithes. Your leadership needs to know about priesthood, about oblations, about the priesthood of today for you to even give tithes, for you to even keep the commandment. You need the priesthood. And now in David's covenant, it doesn't only go to Judah. As we see in Revelation 7, it goes to all 12 tribes. Zebulun, Levi, as well, continues part of the priesthood. Issachar, and all these tribes have a portion of the priesthood. And as a side note as well, this is actually what the Most High intended, even with Moses. He actually intended for all the 12 tribes to have a part in the priesthood. But it's going to be arduous. All of the families of all the tribes are going to have to give their firstborn son and dedicate them. He was going to be a priest. I mean, he couldn't do anything else. He wasn't going to be your son anymore. He was going to be a priest. That means if you pass away or if you get sick, brother's not going to stop and come and take care of you. He's a priest. It's unleavened bread. He's got to do that. If you pass away, brother's not going to come to your funeral. He can't, because he's a priest. So that's why the Most High implemented redeeming the son. Instead of them, it's going to be Levi. Instead of the firstborn of everybody, it's going to be Levi only. But in this covenant of David, the Most High switched it back. Now it's back again to all 12 tribes of the children of Israel. All of them are going to be the priest of the Most High. So, with that being said, as we start to build the priesthood, as we start calling out and telling brothers, join the candidate pool. See if you're worthy to join this priesthood. And as we start AP 5 and start to graduate AP 4, Abba willing, we need to give them their tithes so that they can keep these oblations going. Because if the oblations stop, all hell breaks loose. Literally. If the oblations stop, literally all hell would break loose. Satan will come, bring forth sin, bring forth accusations. If priests say, I want to give oblation, but I don't have the meat offering. I don't have the drink. I don't have anything. What am I going to do? Well, Satan is accusing y'all. Satan's accusing everybody. If we don't have a priest and we don't have a priest supplied with what they need for the oblations, sin is going to run rampant because priests can't give sin offerings. Sin is going to run wild because priests can't give trespass offerings. And sin is going to run wild because we can't keep the feast days. Now Satan's accusing us like, y'all didn't keep Passover. I'm accusing them. So we need to know who the priests are. We need to build up the priests. And then the congregation needs to supply the priests with everything they need to give these oblations. Let's grab Nehemiah chapter 10. Who was just reading? You were just reading? All right, go ahead, Rosh. Nehemiah chapter 10, verse 28. We see where we're at today. We're at the time where Levi, a Levitical-only priesthood, has passed away. We're now at a point where the priesthood is open to all the children of Israel, and we need to build it. We need to build the priesthood like we need to breathe air. If you breathe air, you need a priest. All right, anybody here doesn't breathe air? Anybody here stop breathing? All right, no. So you need a priest. We need a priesthood. All right, now, after we build this priesthood, they must receive the tithes. And we're in that covenant now. We must come in that covenant now. We must enter into the covenant of David So we can have a Levitical, a priesthood that's from all the tribes of Israel. If not, you need to find Levi, you need to find Aaron, and you need to find his sons, and you need to set them up in Jerusalem to build a temple, and then you need to start giving them gold and silver and everything so they can build the altar, so they can build the brazen altar, the golden altar. They need to build the rooms of gold, so you need to tithe that as well. You need to give that as a free will offering. Make sure you got gold and silver and copper and enough to build a grand house if you want to do Moses' covenant. All right? Come back to me when you figure that out. All right? But in this covenant, we don't need that. We have a spiritual house. But one thing that is congruent as well with the brothers of that time is that we're trying to come out of captivity. We are in captivity and we're trying to come out. We need to come out. And Nehemiah was in that same position. And Nehemiah was coming out of the Babylonian captivity, out of the destruction of the temple, and had to rebuild it again. And we're in the same place. We need to rebuild the breaches of David. The breaches that have fallen, the way that has fallen, we need to build it back up. We need to rebuild this spiritual house. So just as Nehemiah was doing the same thing, we can take lessons from him and see how we must operate. Nehemiah chapter 10, verse 28. Preach, Rosh.
And the rest of the people, the priests, the Levites, the porters, the singers, the Nethinims, and all they that had separated themselves from the people of the lands unto the law of Abba, their wives, their sons, and their daughters, every one having knowledge and having understanding.
So these were people that were in Babylon and for all intents and purposes were Babylonians. They grew up with the Babylonian customs. They didn't grow up with the Israelite customs. They grew up with Babylonian people, and they started marrying Babylonian people. And they had to go and separate themselves from that when they start coming out of this captivity. Just like we today must do the same thing. We grew up in spiritual Babylon and spiritual Egypt. We have to separate ourselves from the ways of spiritual Babylon, spiritual Egypt, and cleave to our brethren. Read on.
They clave to their brethren, their nobles, and entered into a curse.
All right. So that sounds kind of counterintuitive to those who don't know. Time won't afford us to go through it, but it's not saying they said, curse me, Abba. It's saying they enter into a covenant. In that covenant, you agree and sign off on the curses. You say, all right, if I stop giving these tithe offerings, the Most High will curse us. All right, I understand that. If I stop coming to the feast days, the Most High will curse us. All right, I understand that. I'm signing here on the dotted line. If I stop doing any aspect of this covenant and start neglecting it and rejecting it, the Most High will bring forth curses on me. All right, signing on the dotted line. They enter into a curse, into a contract, into an agreement, or into a covenant with the Most High. And then they made an oath. Read on. Well, I'll say, and then they, at the same time, with that curse, they entered into an oath. Read on.
And into an oath to walk in Abba's law, which was given by Moses, the servant of Abba, and to observe and to do all the commandments of the Most High, our Lord, and his judgments and his statutes. And that we would not give our daughters unto the people of the land, nor take their daughters for our sons. And if the people of the land bring ware or any victuals on the Sabbath day to sell, that we would not buy it of them on the Sabbath or on the holy day, and that we would leave the seventh year and the exaction of every debt.
All right, so they're agreeing and confirming to keep the covenant of the Most High. They won't marry off into the strangers who worship false gods or other idols. They won't go and join themselves unto that. And they also will keep the Sabbath, keep the seventh year, keep the high holy days. Let's read on.
Also, we made ordinances for us to charge ourselves yearly with the third part of a shekel for the service of the house of our Abba.
So they all agreed to give their free will offerings, to freely give their funds and their goods that the service of the tabernacle requires. They agreed to that. And what else?
For the showbread and for the continual meat offering.
For the showbread, for the meat offering, your tithes. They agreed as they were coming out of captivity, we need to set this priesthood. So what do we need to do? Firstly, we need to keep the covenant. We need to get in the covenant, and we need to confirm each point of it. I'm keeping the Sabbath. I'm not worshiping idols. I'm not doing X, Y, and Z. Now after I do that, I need to give my free will offerings and my tithes. I need to make sure I'm supporting everything that's going on. And this is how they got out of Babylon. They didn't get out because they had this greatest standing army and they toppled Babylon. Babylon got toppled by the Persians, not the Israelites. So they had to agree to this covenant to be removed out of captivity. And in that, they had to have a priesthood, and they had to support that priesthood. Read on.
And for the continual burnt offerings, of the Sabbath, of the new moons, for the set feast, and for the holy things, and for the sin offerings, to make an atonement for Israel, and for all the work of the house of our Abba.
So this was the purpose of it once again. This was the purpose of supplying the priest with the meat offering, with the drink offering, with the flour, with the incense, and all the tithes, so that they could keep the continual meat offering, the daily oblations, and the Sabbath oblations on every seventh day, and on the new months, so every 30 days, and on all the appointed feast days, unleavened bread, feast of weeks, all these things, they needed the means to sacrifice. And to get out of captivity, they had to do that. They had to set that up. Read on.
And we cast lots among the priests, the Levites, and the people for the wood offering, to bring it into the house of our Abba, after the houses of our fathers, at times appointed year by year, to burn upon the altar of the Most High, our Abba, as it is written in the law.
So even at this time, they needed to bring wood. We don't even think about that. But they needed wood to burn the offerings. You don't just spark a fire out of nowhere. They literally needed wood to burn the offerings, and people had to offer that. People had to give that. You were not going to have Levi, the priest, go out into the forest and start chopping down trees and bring that back into the temple. Nah, you couldn't have them do that because they were dedicated to the Most High. They weren't supposed to do anything else except give those sacrifices. So the people had to go and get the wood. People had to go and get the meat. People had to go and get the drink and everything they needed for the sacrifices. Now, we today don't need wood. We're not physically burning the sacrifices, but we need all the other things that we need to keep the feast going, to keep the oblations going, and all the things required of the modern-day priesthood. Read on.
And to bring the first fruits of our ground, and the first fruit of all trees, year by year, unto the house of the heavenly fathers.
They also agreed to bring the first fruits of everything they grew, to bring that into the house of the Most High. Read on.
Also the firstborn of our sons, and of our cattle, as it is written in the law, and the firstlings of our herds and of our flocks, to bring to the house of our Abba, unto the priests that minister in the house of our Abba.
So once again, they're agreeing to everything we read earlier in Numbers, that they're bringing forth the wood offering, the cattle, their firstborn of their cattle and of their sons, and all the firstlings of everything, what we grew, what we raised, no matter what it is, they're bringing it. Read on.
And that we should bring the first fruits of our dough, and our offerings, and the first fruit of all manner of trees, of wine and of oil, unto the priests, to the chambers.
So they had to bring the first fruits of their trees, their orchards. If you have an orange tree, you had to bring the first fruits of that. If you had an apple tree, you had to bring the first fruits of that. Whatever you had, you brought the first fruits of it. Read on.
To the chambers of the house of our Abba, and the tithes of our ground unto the Levites.
Once again, proving that tithes, if you didn't believe me at first, proving again that tithes were the first fruits of your ground. Everything you grew, everything you harvested, you offered that as a tithe. Read on.
That the same Levites might have the tithes in all the cities of our tillage.
The Levites or the priesthood needs to have those tithes of everybody so that the oblations of sacrifice can go down. If you're receiving the blessings and the benefits from the priest working hard to give those sacrifices, training and learning, and spending years understanding the sacrifices, and then staying up all night to give the sacrifices, waking up at wee hours of the night. When's your hour?
7th lot.
7 o'clock. What time is that?
4 o'clock.
4 a.m.?
4 a.m.
4 a.m.? You don't have a bad one. Yours is the 12th lot, right? What time is that?
For me, it's 9 o'clock.
But you're in there almost every day, right? And you're in there every day, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, I got the wrong brothers up. There's other brothers up here getting up at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., all to give the sacrifice to the Most High continually, and we all receive the benefits of that. We must make sure the priests have what they need to offer that, to do that, to sacrifice to the Most High. We need to make sure the priests don't fail and don't slip because there was no meat in the house. There was no drink in the house. There was nothing to use for the sacrifice. We need to make sure that the priests have what they need. So everybody gave. Everybody who benefited, supported. Let's read on.
And the priest, the son of Aaron, shall be with the Levites, when the Levites take the tithes. And the Levites shall bring up the tithe of the tithes unto the house of our Abba, to the chambers, and to the treasure house. For the children of Israel and the children of Levi shall bring the offering of the corn, of the new wine, and the oil unto the chambers, where are the vessels of the sanctuary, and the priests that minister, and the porters and the singers, and we will not forsake the house of our Abba.
So all the Levites, priests, porters, and singers, and all of them received of the tithes because they all served in the house of the Most High to some capacity. All right, so in this time, when they were coming out of captivity, they had to set up a priesthood and support them. Now us today, in the same position as Nehemiah, but in a different covenant, we must do the exact same thing, but applicable to our covenant. All right, let's get 2 Chronicles chapter 31, verse 1. And we'll go ahead and read that when you get it. So as we mentioned, in today's times, if you're wondering how you give tithes and how you support in today's times, for one, you must understand what the priesthood is. You must understand the position we're in, and that is essential to getting out of this captivity. Now we're going to get another example of somebody who was cleaning out a temple that got utterly defiled. This is King Hezekiah. And he grew up after Manasseh had desecrated the temple. And he had to come back and set it up again and get it back in working order. You couldn't have priests giving up sacrifices when you got Balaam right behind you looking over you. You couldn't have that. That's what Manasseh did. And he had to go and clean it out and set everything back in motion that Manasseh had basically destroyed. All right, so we are once again in that same position. We're in a position where we're growing up with idolatry all around us. At this present time, everybody in the world basically is getting ready for this wicked, abominable, holy day that's coming up. And you hear nothing but all the abominable music. You see the decorations. You see all that kind of stuff. We're living in a place of filth. And we need to go and clean out everybody's chamber of imagery where the temple resides, just like Hezekiah did, and follow his footsteps and set up the exact same thing. Let's look at what Hezekiah did in this time. 2 Chronicles chapter 31, verse 1.
Now, when all this was finished, all Israel that were present went out to the cities of Judah and brake the images in pieces and cut down the groves and threw down the high places and the altars out of all Judah and Benjamin, and Ephraim also Manasseh, until they had utterly destroyed them all. Then all the children of Israel returned, every man to his possession, into their own cities.
So they had to go and tear down all the idol altars, all the abominations that the Israelites before them had set up. Let's read on.
Verse 2. And Hezekiah appointed the courses of the priests and the Levites after their courses, every man according to his service, the priests and Levites for burnt offerings and for peace offerings, to minister and to give thanks and to praise in the gates of the tents of the Most High.
So after Manasseh had desecrated everything, Hezekiah had to come back and set up the priests once again. He had to say, hey, we got 12 lots. Actually, we got 24 lots this time that we need to cover. We need all the Levites and put them in their proper course and get them in order. Read on.
Verse 3. He appointed also the king's portion of his substance for the burnt offerings, to wit, for the morning and evening burnt offerings.
So the king was not exempt from giving the tithes. The king couldn't be like, hey, I don't give no tithes. I'm the king. Nah, he appointed his portion, which was actually extremely great. If we read Solomon's portion, it talked about every day he had thousands upon thousands of cattle being sent forth to the priest. That wasn't his portion just to eat. That was his portion for the worship of the Most High, to give as tithes to the priest. Hezekiah did the exact same thing. Had his great portion that he gave. Read on.
And the burnt offerings for the Sabbaths, and for the new moons, the new months, and for the set feasts, as it is written in the law of the Most High. Moreover, he commanded the people that dwell in Jerusalem to give the portion of the priests and the Levites, that they might be encouraged in the law of the Most High.
All right, so he appointed also that the people give their tithes, give their portion as well. I gave mine. Everybody, we need to give their portion so we can set up the priesthood to give these oblations, to give these sacrifices. We need to encourage them. We need to make sure they have everything they need. We need to make sure they have what they need to give these oblations. Read on.
Verse 5. And as soon as the commandment came abroad, the children of Israel brought in abundance the first fruit of corn.
As soon as the commandment came abroad to give their tithes, you couldn't even have the scribe finish writing the letters out. And once he gave it out, all the children of Israel, I'm ready. I heard y'all setting up the priesthood again. I'm ready. Like, we didn't even send out the decree yet. But all right, we ready to take it. Children of Israel were ready and willing to support the priest of the Most High. Let's read on.
Wine and oil.
They brought forth the first fruits of corn, their grain for the meat offering, the wine for the drink offering. Read on.
And honey.
Oil and honey as well. All types of fruits and all types of sweet things used to prepare the oblations. The oil to cook the cakes, to be anointed with. All these things they brought forth unto the priesthood as Manasseh, or as Hezekiah started correcting the issues that Manasseh had brought forth. Read on.
And of all the increase of the field, and the tithe of all things brought they in abundantly.
They brought in all the tithes abundantly. Once the decree came out, as soon as it came out, they started doing it. And they started doing it abundantly. How much did they bring? Well, read on. And it'll tell you how much they brought.
And concerning the children of Israel and Judah that dwelt in the cities of Judah, they also brought in the tithe of the oxen and sheep, and the tithe of holy things which were consecrated unto the Most High their Abba, and laid them by heaps.
They brought the true tithes and laid them in heaps. They had mounds of corn. They had mounds of bottled up wine. They had mounds of everything. They had oxen lined up for miles ready for the priest to give their sacrifice. And this is what's needed to have a priesthood, and have a priesthood that's ready to give these sacrifices. You can't have sacrifices in the dearth. You need the fullness and the fatness. And like I said, you need a balance. You need the priesthood to be full. You need the storehouse to be full. But you can't have the priest extorting the people out of everything they had. People gave joyfully, not like in the days of Eli when they were abusing the people. You had them giving joyously, and everything was laid out in heaps as soon as the commandment came forth. Now, once again, answering the question of how do we give tithe today, we see we still must do that. Now, how do we do it? Like I said, if you live in an apartment in New York and you barely even have a backyard, what do? You don't even have a porch on your high-rise apartment. You can't. What are you going to grow? What are you going to do? If tithes are not money, what do you do? Priest Ross, if you get Deuteronomy chapter 14, and we'll start in the 22nd verse. What do we do if we don't have any of the agrarian means to actually grow and supply things that we need for the priesthood? Let's get that. Deuteronomy chapter 14, verse 22.
Thou shalt truly tithe all the increase of thy seed, that the field bringeth forth year by year.
All right, so it's required, once again, it's a commandment to tithe the increase of the field. Read on.
And thou shalt eat before the Most High thy Abba, in the place which he shall choose to place his name there, the tithe of thy corn, of thy wine, and of thine oil, and the firstlings of thy herds and of thy flocks, that thou mayest learn to fear the Most High thy Abba always. And if the way be too long for thee, so that thou art not able to carry it, or if the place be too far from thee.
All right, so the Most High is now setting in a statute, a stipulation, another addendum to this law of giving your tithes. All right, if it's too far for you, this is what you do. If you don't have the corn, oil, and wine on you, or fill this in with whatever issue you have, where you don't have the corn, the oil, and the wine, you can't bring it physically, what do you do? Read on.
Or if the place be too far from thee, which the Most High thy Abba shall choose to set his name there, when the Most High thy Abba hath blessed thee, then shalt thou turn it into money.
All right, so then you take your tithe and you sell them, or you take your money that you have, that you gained, once again, replace this with whatever problem that you have. Whether you don't grow stuff, Or you just, it's about to rot if you wait till the feast, or whatever it may be. Then you sell it, turn it into money. Read on.
And bind up the money in the hand, and shall go unto the place which the Most High thy Abba shall choose.
All right, so beware. He's not about to say you bind up, sell it, make it money, and give that straight to the priest. That's not what he's going to say. He's going to say something specific. What do you do once you sell your tithes, get that money, and come to Jerusalem, or that holy place where everybody convenes? What do you do? Read on.
And thou shalt bestow that money for whatsoever thy soul lusted after.
So then you shall take that money and buy whatever tithes you need. Read on.
For oxen or for sheep.
For oxen, if that's what you want to get. If you grew corn and you sold all your bushels, you can go back and switch that out for oxen, or switch that out for sheep, or what else?
Or for wine, or for strong drink.
For wine, for strong drink, whatever it is that you want to buy, you can do so. You can take that and you can actually go and sell your tithes and buy that. Or once again, replace that with whatever problem you have, any issue that you have. Whether it's we today are not growing up in a society where we're taught and educated on how to grow things, take your money and buy those tithes and give that to the priest. Read on.
Or for whatsoever thy soul desireth.
Whatsoever you want to give as your tithes. If you want to buy clementines, go ahead and buy that and give that to the priest. Anything agricultural, the priest use that for the oblations. Read on.
And thou shalt eat there before the Most High thy Abba, and thou shalt rejoice, thou and thine household.
All right. So then you shall come and celebrate in the feast. Now, we have that settled. We understand we're not an agrarian society. We work all day. We don't have time to go and plant something, so we take that and buy the tithes. Now, anybody who knows anything about food production now knows we're faced with another dilemma, which is, how do I know if this stuff is good? How do I know if it's clean? How do I know if it's fit? How do I know? I got bleached flour or unbleached flour. Which one do I give? Which one do I offer? We're faced with another dilemma being in the land of our captivity. What is good and what is not? And unfortunately, we don't know. We don't know if the wine is vegan. Some people might be looking at me like, what? Wine is vegan? Like, I thought wine was normally vegan, automatically vegan. You would think so, right? You would think so. But in this wicked society, they say, hey, it's not pure enough. It doesn't look clean. It doesn't taste like I want it to. So guess what? I'm going to stick some gelatin in that thing, and it's going to extract out all the little negative taste that I don't like, the colors I don't like, and I'm going to filter that out. I'm going to package that and ship it out to people. And then you all the while go down to the store, get some wine, bring that to the priesthood. Unbeknownst to you, that thing's been filtered with pork. And I don't care if they filter it 100 times. It's now unclean. It's now not fit. It's not fit for anything except to be destroyed. And we're going to offer that to the Most High? It can't be. What about flour? What, you going to get bleached flour? Stuff they chemically processed? What do we use? You got to know the difference between Jiffy bacon mix and pure natural flour. You can't take some Jiffy mix that's got lard in it and offer that to the Most High. We have to offer him the best and what's fit. Even incense. Incense have different qualities, different quality levels. Some are absolutely amazing. And some you burn, it smells like you burned a tire in your house. You need to know exactly what you're getting and get the right stuff. Now, unfortunately, we can't all do that. We can't all go and do all the abundance amount of research on all the goods that we're getting. So we have another dilemma. What do we do? And all praise to the Most High that the priest of the house of wisdom is seeking to fix that, to make sure that everything that we offer is top notch and fit for the oblations. So to do this, the house of wisdom is now supplying our own version of tithes. We're now supplying, Abba willing, everything needed for the tithes. We already started the flour. Now we're moving on. We already started the meat offering. And many people have been getting that, and they said it tastes like I'm just at the house of wisdom. It's like I'm just at the school. I'm just at headquarters in Atlanta. What about everything else? Abba willing, we will now start to be supplying the drink offering as well. Once again, an absolute necessity. We need the drink offering of the Most High to offer unto him in due season. So Once again, we have done the research to make sure that everything is pure, processed, and right on point. Same thing we did with the unleavened bread, with the meat offering. We made sure we got natural products, vegan and organic with the meat offering. Made sure they were pure, make sure it was a nice blend of everything. Gave instructions on how to make it so that the priest could receive it, so that people can offer that as tithes, and also so that everybody who receives that can eat the meat offering when they're on the oblation line, just like you were here at headquarters of the House of Wisdom. Now we're moving on also to the drink offering as well. We have been in contact with suppliers, with vendors, to make sure that everything in the wine is vegan. They don't filter with all types of abominations, that it's clean, it's pure, and also that it tastes good, of course. It had to be good wine as well. It had to fit the taste of the priest and the taste of the congregation as well. And obviously we partnered with our vendors to make sure that that was right on point. And we, Abba willing, are supplying the drink offering for most adults, and also for those who may be a little younger or those who just don't like the taste of straight up wine. There's non-alcoholic wine as well. So it doesn't have to be alcoholic. You can get the non-alcoholic wine as well. That is also Merlot or Cabernet Sauvignon. You can drink that, and it is a fit offering to the Most High. Ensuring that it's vegan, that it is perfect for the oblations of the Most High. And these can all be ordered on our website. You can have that shipped to the priesthood, or you can have that shipped to you to make sure that when you get in the oblations, we all are unified in the meat offering, in the drink offering, and not even just that, also the salt that we're using. We need to all be unified in the salt that we're using as well. And Abba willing, the oil will be coming too. The oil is prepared and ready to be offered. And also, once again, the incense. The incense are needed. Once again, some people, you don't want your house to smell like a burnt tire. You want it to smell like a sweet smelling savor to the Most High, like we're used to here at headquarters. So the tithes are being now supplied by the House of Wisdom. We appreciate everybody who has helped us as we start growing. Everybody remembers the time of going to some store and getting a pack of wine, and then we taste it. It's like, we ain't using this. We're gonna have this stored away for a few years, and we'll see what it tastes like. But now we made the process that much simpler, that much easier. Where the House of Wisdom, the priest, has done all the legwork of making sure the wine is vegan, making sure the wine is fit, making sure the wine is good, with both the regular wine and the non-alcoholic wine, just like we did with the flour, to make sure every single recipe in there is good and touched by a priest and prepared by a priest. And we're doing the same with the olive oil to make the bread. We're doing the same with the salt that you sprinkle your bread with. We're doing the same with the incense and all the other things, all the other needs of the tithes. So to get some tithes, those who are here, we're in the Feast of Tithes. We're in the Winter Feast of Tithes. Now is the time to go and make sure that the priesthood has what they need, and make sure that you have what you need to partake in these sacrifices as well. And all throughout this feast, there are 7 weeks, we should be making sure the priesthood has the tithes they need in this feast of the Most High. And come back again on the 50th day and offer a new meat offering to the Most High. We must make sure we are supplying the tithes as needed. And once again, the House of Wisdom has done the legwork to ensure that everything that's offered is fit and acceptable unto the Most High, all of the Spirit. So sell what you have and buy the tithes, since we're not agrarian. Now, if you have a garden, all praises, bring that. Bring the tenth of it as your tithes. If you have a field and you grow crops and wheat, bring that. That's on point. Unfortunately, we don't. So at this time, let's make sure we're supporting with the tithes as needed, as required. All right, so you can do so at shekinah.com/tithes. Shekinah.com/tithes. You can get your drink offering, your meat offering, your incense, your oil, all these things. Definitely look at it throughout the week as we will continue to update to make sure the oil is on there, to make sure the incense are on there, to make sure that everything is on there so that everybody can go and get your tithes. Once again, shekinah.com/tithes. And also, if you didn't know about the Feast of Weeks in the winter, that means you probably didn't get a calendar or a calendrical study guide. And if you didn't know and you have one, it's because you didn't study it. as needed, a calendrical Bible study guide. Make sure you get one at shekinah.com/calendar so you can know about these commanded days on which to give the commanded tithes. So hopefully we're hoping to clear up all the dilemmas that we're faced with in the society where we know nothing about agriculture, nothing about the true worship of the Most High, nothing about true tithes. We're looking to clear that up and make it easier, make it simpler, so that everybody can come and make sure, without a doubt, everything they're offering, everything they're tasting, everything they're eating, when they're giving an oblation, is 100% on point. So definitely support the priest by giving the tithes, and also make sure you are staying fit in the oblations by eating of your tithes as well. So with that, as we conclude the intro class, to bring forth the main class of today, we're going to go ahead and close it down. Anybody who had any questions, please save them. I know we got a few. I see some online too. Fortunately, for time's sake, we'll go ahead and save them for the main class Q&A. So with that, I'm going to bid everybody peace and blessings. And in this Feast of Tithes, let us celebrate with our tithes. Shalom.
He who hath ears to hear, listen carefully as we speak virtue, reaching the world through the efforts of the priests, repairers of the breach, restorers of the paths, rebuilding the tents of David. Our home is found at last at the Tabernacle of Congregation, where we baptize and anoint our nation, performing oblations upon the brazen altar, walking in the ways of the appointed Savior with poise, escaping the noise from Satan and his poisonous nature. Without fail he accuses the brethren, using his weapons of collusion, and then sin comes upon us. And we deserve it, to be honest. We were cursed, cause we honored and were worshipping the gods of this world, and was living lawless at first to the written law, without purpose and little knowledge, serving our wicked conscience. Thus, righteous judgment was handed down from the courts of the Most High. A sobering moment, but let's be holy and pure while we endure and ensure life comes forth. Let us hold tight, secure in our roles as we strive, adorned with our robes white and clean. It might seem like the loneliest road, but we stride in hope as the Most High reveals his ideals. And so we exercise patience as well as love, dwelling safe in the seventh covenant, graciously set the sustenance. Let us exemplify faith through hell and suffering, praying to quell the punishment, waiting on heaven's government to be established, as it was in the Garden of Eden, when Abba had breathed life into creation, and our forefather received the living word. No more are we called prisoners, we live and learn, and study to be approved as the sons of Yahweh, who were lovingly given rules to better build and preserve truth. The bricks surrounding the kingdom are the 7 pillars of virtue. This is a house of wisdom. Shalom.